Chapter 814. You don't look too happy? What's wrong? Princess Qian Qian handed the painful mirror to Yu Yang. She had thought that this brat would jump up in joy, but who knew that when he received it, he would stare blankly at it, as if he had suddenly become stupid. I can't tell, but I have an indescribable feeling. Anyway, it seems like Yu Yang couldn't tell why. However, he had a feeling that the mirror of pain wasn't a good thing. It was more like a god's curse, or someone had placed a mark on it. Apart from its creator, no one else could become its master. Using Nirvana's flame to purify, it would only destroy it. In short, when Yu Yang held it in his hands, he felt a sense of danger. If it wasn't for Princess Sisai, he would have thrown it on the ground like a hot potato and abandoned it as soon as possible to avoid trouble. Chang Feng was a human, but he became like that. Yu Yang guessed that it had nothing to do with Queen Vivian Li's curse. It was most likely the Mirror of Pain's curse. If Empress Fei, when Li wanted to curse the snake-haired devil man Chang Feng, he would have been dead long ago. It was impossible for him to continue living. Also, Yu Yang suspected that the devil venerable who used the Mirror of Pain broke free from the seal and couldn't recover his strength was also because of the Mirror of Pain. There is no direct evidence for these speculations, but Yu Yang couldn't say that he didn't. What would happen if he used the Mirror of Pain? Princess Sisai was very smart. Seeing that Yu Yang's expression was not right, she suddenly realized that she had picked up a deadly item and quickly snatched it. She threw it far away. Although she wanted to help Yu Yang as much as possible, she definitely didn't want him to be affected by it. There were many treasures in the world that were not suitable for use. They couldn't be forced. For example, the demonic sovereign erecting ground's demonic axe and demonic divine armor. These two demonic equipment weren't something that everyone could use. This was especially true for the demonic divine armor. Only life forms that were filled with evil and demonic chi could wear it. Otherwise, if a normal person were to wear it, they would be corrupted into a demonic person. However, the standing Earth Devil Axe and Sky Devil Divine Armor were still fine. Yu Yang couldn't use them, so he could give them a gray wolf to fuse with. To him, the more evil and demonic a treasure was, the easier it was to fuse with it, and the more it could increase its strength. It was a demon wolf that represented destruction. After the battle at the Earth Demon Divine Palace, other than everyone's improvement, the real treasure they obtained was the soul-fixing nail that needed to be purified by the Nirvana flame. The soul-fixing nail was still sealed. If Yu Yang could break the seal and get it to recognize him as its master, he would obtain an extremely powerful divine weapon. With his treasure, Yu Yang was somewhat comforted. Of course, divine weapons weren't cabbages. They couldn't be used whenever they wanted. If Yu Yang wanted to get this soul-fixing nail's recognition, he still needed to put in a lot of effort. Although we can't use it, we might be able to bring it out and find Night Empress and Jizun to take a look. Or we can seal it in a special place. We can't let it stay in the ruins of the Earth Demon Divine Palace. Otherwise, if someone picks it up, I'm afraid it would be a disaster. Shui Wuxia thought for a while and asked the Storm Goddess to pick up the Mirror of Pain. She handed it to Yu Yang and placed it in the demon's subduing tower to seal it temporarily. It seems that sometimes taking advantage of others isn't worth it. Princess Sisai stuck out her tongue cutely. Her rare, innocent look made Yu Yang's wolfish desire rise. He wanted to have a taste of Tigress's little tongue. But this time, what he got was a punch from Princess Sisai. The Earth Demon Divine Palace turned into ruins. Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Qianqian rested for a while. When they had recovered most of their strength, the Storm Goddess and Hui Tai Lang, who had rushed over after hearing the news, had already cleaned up the battlefield. They didn't let go of anything valuable. The demonic armor and the standing ground demon axe were left for Hui Tai Lang to fuse. The good things were left for his loyal watchdog. Although Yu Yang often punched and kicked Hui Tai Lang and ordered him around, he occasionally treated him well. At least, he would always leave a portion of the good things for him. He was barely qualified as a master. Hui Tai Lang was overjoyed. Semi-god equipment was definitely a rare item, especially the demonic armor. It was an extremely high-quality semi-god equipment that was infinitely close to a divine equipment. If Baruth, Ha Xian and the other great demon kings in the demon abyss of Tong Tian Tower knew that Yu Yang had fused with Hui Tai Lang. They would definitely cry. Hui Tai Lang was smart. He understood that a long night would be fraught with dreams. He didn't leave anymore. He directly swallowed the standing ground demon axe and fused with the demonic armor in the ruins of the Earth Demon Temple. Let the rancors of the demon abyss cry themselves to death. Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia, and Princess Sisai returned to the Black Lava area. They found Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and Shui Tanlang fighting a huge and ugly human-faced evil ancient tree. If it hadn't gone through the pressure of the golden giant that Yu Yang had just raised, this human-faced evil ancient tree would have easily defeated them. Although it couldn't move, its strength was at heaven rank level 5. In this place filled with evil energy, it was an invincible existence. It was a pity that the golden giant's pressure had greatly damaged it. The evil energy around it was also greatly weakened. Most importantly, Fatty Hai and the others were very shameless. Shui Tanlang, the Ice Cube Man, was the main attacker. Prince of Tian Luo and Yi Kong were the ones who restrained it. Fatty Hai's Wind Breath Seabird was in charge of long-range attacks. The Li brothers were cleaning up the evil treants and delusion monsters that had survived the pressure. Everyone worked together slowly. They were very patient against a big boss that couldn't move. They prepared a kiting tactic of sawing a big tree with a knife. Heaven rank level 5 was very resistant to attacks. However, no matter how resistant it would still be injured if it was hit too many times. As long as its recovery speed couldn't keep up with its attack speed, it would fall no matter how strong it was. Not bad. Yu Yang watched for a while and gave a rare praise. When he spoke, Shui Tanlang and the others, who were focused on fighting, realized that Yu Yang had come out. They were immediately overjoyed. Their morale was high and their fighting spirit was boundless. Pay attention to the pressure. As long as you enter within 100 meters of it, its domain can suppress you to the point that you can't move. It can kill you at any time. You must pay attention to the distance. It's best to use this opportunity to comprehend the supreme will of the supreme Elder Realm. As long as your willpower is strong enough, its pressure will weaken a lot. There's one more thing, and that is rebirth. Under its roots, there's a huge core that's no less than the tree face above. Even if the tree face above is knocked down by you, there's enough energy to grow a new tree face. Shui Wuxia opened the Book of Truth and guided everyone, especially the younger brother Shui Tanlang, who was the main attacker. He warned everyone not to underestimate the enemy. After all, a heaven rank level 5 was not an existence that they could easily take down. Understood. Shui Tanlang nodded solemnly. If you can defeat this ugly treant, you'll definitely improve. It's very important to understand more in battle. Cherish this rare enemy. Princess Isai was usually very strict, but today she was more lenient. The main thing was that this Trent situation was a little special. Its roots were here. It couldn't move, which was its fatal point. If it could run like Yu Bing's Titan Treant, Fatty Hai and the others would have been killed in a second. Before Yu Yang left, he said, "It seems that the evil core inside this Treant is not bad. Remember to bring it back. I have a use for it." Fatty Hai's head hit the rock when he heard this. What kind of boss was this? The little brothers had worked so hard to get treasures, and they still wanted to contribute. No, who was the boss here? It seemed like he was the boss in name, right? He was about to open his mouth to bargain and exchange some treasures from Yu Yang, but Yu Yang didn't give him the chance. He took the two girls and floated away. Yi Kong sent Fatty Hai flying with a kick and scolded loudly. "Are you a pig?" Fatty Hai was about to fight back when he suddenly saw a life-threatening tree root appear where he was standing just now. He was so scared that he shivered. Being distracted on the battlefield was equivalent to suicide. Fortunately, this monkey still had some loyalty. "Brother Monkey, you're a good person." Fatty Hai enthusiastically gave Yikong a good person card. "Are you trying to disgust me to death?" Yikong's face twisted when he heard this. He almost vomited on the spot. Sand Valley, quiet sand corridor. Yu Yang, Shui Wuxia and Princess Qian Qian found Granny Sha, who was trapped in the quiet sand corridor under the guidance of Uncle Yu and Uncle Feng. It turned out that Yu Yang thought that this Granny Sha, who was called Salumin by Uncle Feng, was a kind old lady. Who would have thought that he was shocked? This Granny Sha was not old at all. She looked to be at most 40 years old. She was a mature, steady, virtuous, and intelligent middle-aged woman. Compared to Fourth Mother, she was a little more mature. At the same time, she lacked the gentle motherly glow. This Granny Sha stood in the middle of the clear pool surrounded by water, wearing a beautiful dress. Her feet were firmly nailed to the ground, unable to move at all. The punishment of the Sand Valley was that she couldn't take a bath. Even though there was clear water everywhere around her, she could only look at it. She couldn't take a drop of water to clean herself. Even if Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai used their fastest speed to set off a large wave, they would all turn into white mist and disappear before they could pour on her body. This punishment made Yu Yang speechless. On the other hand, Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai resonated with this punishment and felt that it was very cruel. They felt that a woman who had a serious obsession with cleanliness and liked to take a bath had stood by the water for tens of thousands of years without being able to take a bath. Such a punishment could no longer be described as cruel. What made Yu Yang curious was what kind of bad things this Granny Sha called Salumin had done in the past to be sealed here for tens of thousands of years as punishment. Don't mention the past anymore. How old are you? There are some things that children like you can't understand. Granny Sha saw that the younger generation of Tongtian Tower had come, and saw that Yu Yang and the two girls were extremely outstanding. She was even happier. She waved her hand with a smile and didn't pursue Yu Yang's offensive gossiping. You don't need to care about those two guys. They are both pig heads, and they are the stupidest pig heads in the world. If I wasn't afraid that they would commit suicide, I would have cut off my relationship with them long ago. You don't know. It's the biggest misfortune of my life to be mentioned together with their names. Well, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you guys. I'm very curious about you guys. Little boy, you start first. My life can be described with 2 words. Yu Yang expressed that his life was very simple. What 2 words? Granny Sha was surprised. Could 2 words describe his whole life? Intrepid. Yu Yang replied with a deadpan expression. Chapter 8:15. Interesting little boy. You are quite eloquent. No wonder you can coax the 2 little girls to follow you. Granny Sha laughed. Thank you for your compliment, senior. Yu Yang bowed in a flattering manner. Valley of Sand, with your strength, it's not a problem for you to pass. But the 2 little girls are a bit troublesome. Granny Sha frowned slightly. You should know that the first 3 valleys are just trials. There is almost no difficulty. The real test is the later stages. The first 3 stages were all orderly. In other words, no matter how it changed, it was all within the control of the main body. However, the later stages were not like this. They were completely disorderly. No matter how powerful a person was, if they violated some of the rules, they would die without a doubt. For example, in the 4th stage, Valley of Desire, it is a stage that tests people's desires. If you can't grasp it, you will forever fall and become part of it, or your soul will be annihilated and disappear forever. In there, you must conform to the rules of that stage in order to pass. If you don't reach the sovereign realm, I don't recommend the 2 little girls to follow you to the 4th stage, let alone the more difficult stages. I am very grateful, senior. Your advice is a blessing for us juniors. Princess Sisai quickly expressed her gratitude. Can you tell us more about the later stages? Even if we don't have the qualifications to pass them for the time being, we still want to know more about them, so that we can prepare in advance when we pass them in the future. Shui Wuxia also humbly asked for advice. The Valley of Desire just said that it is very difficult. In there, anyone's desire will be magnified. Of course, the environment and the rules will also affect it. In short, it is a very difficult stage. The number of warriors who can pass it can be counted on one hand. After the 4th level, the scariest thing is that there will no longer be guardians like us. It is a cruel and merciless rule. Once you violate it, you will be finished. No one can save you. Little boy, you have to think about it carefully. Do you want to challenge it? Do you want to control your desire? If you don't have absolute confidence, then it is a road of no return. Granny Shah warned Yu Yang. Thank you, I will think about it. Facing such a cruel stage, Yu Yang would certainly not be careless. Now he was no longer alone. Behind him, there was Fourth Mother, Bing Air, Shuang Air, Inan, Fallen Flowers, Sky Law, and the others. They even carried the hopes of the soaring Dragon Continent and Tong Tian Tower. Yu Yang also knew that he couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Therefore, when faced with an extremely difficult challenge, he had to think carefully and not recklessly challenge it. If he hadn't reached the innate supremacy realm, Yu Yang might not have challenged the Desire Valley that Granny Shah had warned him about. But now he was more confident than before. He decided to return to the stairway to heaven. After discussing it with everyone, he would return alone and challenge the others. Granny Shah didn't try to persuade him any further. She continued, "What's more difficult than the Desire Valley is the fifth stage, the Beast Valley. In there, any warrior who can't use their own strength must cultivate the most primitive beast from weak to strong. If the cultivated beast dies, the challenger will be punished by the ancient code. If the beast dies more than 3 times, the challenger will be punished by the ancient code and directly turn into a beast. If the transformed beast still dies, then the challenger will be annihilated forever. It's worth noting that if the cultivated beast is not enough to leave the Beast Valley, then the challenger will be trapped in the Beast Valley for the rest of his life and become one of them. The sixth stage is the extremely difficult Demon Valley. The challenger can choose to join the light faction to subdue one MO, or the dark faction to slaughter the angels. Both sides must complete different faction goals within a fixed time. The most terrifying thing about the Demon Valley is that no matter how many challengers enter, no matter whether they survive in the end, only the challenger from the victor's faction can pass the stage. The loser will stay in the Demon Valley forever, never to escape. When Granny Shah talked about the Demon Valley, her expression revealed a kind of fear. Obviously, the previous challenge had left an indelible psychological shadow. If that's the case, wouldn't there be a lot of defeated challengers staying in the Demon Valley? Shui Wuxiao suddenly thought of this point. That's right. Granny Shah raised a finger. In the Demon Valley, there are more than 10% challengers. Huh? Yu Yang was shocked. He felt his scalp go numb. There were actually so many challengers trapped in the Devil's Valley. Putting aside the strength of the challengers who could pass the 4th and 5th stages, the Valley of Desire and the Valley of Beasts, just the number of challengers that made up a tenth of the total number of challengers was enough to show how freakishly difficult the 6th stage was. Princess Sisai suppressed her shock and asked, "Senior, can you tell me more about the 7th stage and beyond?" Granny Shah shook her head. "I have never entered the 7th stage, Life Valley. It is said that it is countless times more difficult than the 6th stage, Demon Valley. I really don't have the confidence to challenge it. Over there, the fastest person to pass was that little girl Fei Wenli. It seemed that it took her half a year to completely pass. Many experts who successfully passed the 7th stage were trapped in the 7th stage, Life Valley, forever unable to get out. Little boy, you have to think carefully. Even if you pass the 7th stage, you won't be able to leave smoothly. There are too many restrictions between the 7th stage and the 9th stage. I'm sorry, other than a small amount of information about the 7th stage, I don't have any more useful information for you, because I don't know anything about the 8th and 9th stage. Of course, after the 7th stage, it's still very far away for you. You should think about how to pass the Desire Valley and the Beast Valley first." Yu Yang nodded and thanked her again. As for the information about the 8th and 9th stage, Yu Yang didn't expect Granny Shah to have a lot of good news. Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li, who had passed the 9th stage, Yu Yang believed that she would definitely know more than Granny Shah. Moreover, with her perspective and methods, she might be able to give Yu Yang a different kind of inspiration. After returning to the Heaven Stairway, he must find a way to find time to see Queen Vivian Li. She was the one who knew the most secrets. When he was about to say goodbye to Granny Shah, Yu Yang suddenly remembered the painful mirror. He took it out and asked Granny Shah to help him see the origin of this thing, who knew that the knowledgeable Granny Shah also shook her head, indicating that she couldn't see the secret of this thing. However, She was surprised by Yu Yang's action. She asked tentatively, "Did you go to the Earth Demon Temple? I remember that this painful mirror is the treasure of Dugu Changfeng of the Four Families. In the past, Dugu Changfeng insisted on challenging Holy Demon Venerable, but he never came back. Is he dead?" Yu Yang shook his head. "He didn't die. He just turned into an ice sculpture. I found this thing in the Earth Demon Temple." He found out that Granny Shah still didn't know that he had killed Holy Demon Venerable, so he casually lied. This was good. He didn't have to waste time explaining how he got the power to kill Holy Demon Venerable. Granny Shah didn't think that Yu Yang, who had just become a Xiantian sovereign, would be able to kill Holy Demon Venerable. In her eyes, this kid was freakish enough. At the age of a little bean sprout, he was already a venerable Xiantian. Moreover, he was far stronger than other venerable Xiantians. There was a kind of perfect venerable Xiantian whose divine sense had just formed. Although Yu Yang's level wasn't high, as a senior, she didn't dare to look down on him. According to this potential, Yu Yang would definitely become a holy sovereign in the future, unless he died halfway. She didn't think that Yu Yang had already killed Demon Venerable Standing Ground, but she reckoned that Yu Yang was able to escape unscathed from Demon Venerable Standing Ground's attack. He might even have gotten some benefits. For example, the Mirror of Pain was his loot. The four families of the Heaven Realm are related to our Tong Tian Tower. Forget it, since he is not dead. You don't have to waste a lot of effort to save him. It's going to teach that arrogant kid a lesson. I don't know what this thing is, but I feel that it's a bit strange. It's best not to use it. Granny Shah was indeed an old demon who had lived for tens of thousands of years. We will be careful. Yu Yang sealed the painful mirror in the suppressing demon tower again. When he was about to leave, Granny Shah suddenly called out to the three of them. "You seem to be quite strong. Can you help me get a mermaid's tear? With it, I might be able to hide from the punishment of the law for a short time, and I could take a bath. At the very least, I can soak my feet, wash my hands, and wipe my face." Granny Shah made this request. "I'll try my best." Yu Yang felt that she was quite pitiful. She had been standing by the water for tens of thousands of years without taking a bath. But he didn't dare to say it out loud. Mermaid's tear was not easy to find. Otherwise, Granny Shah wouldn't have stood here waiting for it for tens of thousands of years. Granny Shah didn't know the secret of the painful mirror, but maybe Queen Vivian Li knew. At this time, Yu Yang was even more eager to see Queen Vivian Li. Before leaving the trial with Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai, and using the three-realm compass to return to the Heaven Stairway, Yu Yang first teleported back to the second pass, the Wind Valley. The battle between Lord Ling Yun and Tu Hai was over. It was a Pyrrhic victory. Tu Hai's right arm was broken, and his right leg was missing from the knee. Only half of him was left. Lord Ling Yun and the others were also injured. Seeing Yu Yang return, Lord Ling Yun secretly covered his chest. There was a bloody hole in it. If it weren't for Lord Ling Yun's strength and tenacity, he would have died a long time ago. Yu Yang could understand them. Even with the strength of the six of them, it was not an easy task to defeat two shrine elders in such a disadvantageous environment. But to Yu Yang's great surprise, Lord Ling Yun and the others did not choose to kill them. Instead, they forcibly captured Red Crane and Chi Feng. It was because of this that the six of them paid such a heavy price. Looking at Red Crane and Chi Feng, who were covered with cuts and bruises and looked like they were on the verge of death, Yu Yang could imagine how intense the battle before was. Yu Yang threw the two temple elders into the demon's subduing tower and sealed them. Then, he gave each of Lord Ling Yun a high-grade martial spirit pill. Well done. However, this is just the beginning. To shake the central shrine, these two temple elders are just the tip of the iceberg. By the way, don't go out for the time being. There are no death warriors from the temple in the third pass. I guess they have all left and are waiting outside. Hearing this, Lord Ling Yun and the others' faces darkened. The three teams of Ba Huang, Shui Yuan, and Zhang Gu seemed to be in trouble. They had already guessed this possibility, but they didn't want to think about it before. Now, they heard Yu Yang's warning. They were quite sad. If you're worried about the revenge of the temple death warriors, you can go to the Earth Demon Temple. The map is here. They should not be able to guess where you will go. Before Yu Yang finished speaking, Lord Ling Yun and the others were already shocked and exclaimed, "So, you have already wiped out the Earth Demon Temple. You will know when you go and see." Yu Yang smiled, turned around, and left, leaving behind Lord Ling Yun and the others who were dumbfounded like puppets. Chapter 816. Heaven's Stairway, Level 5. Even the strongest Sky Execution couldn't stand and sat down tiredly while leaning on a rock. 100 meters around him, Dragon Emperor, Emperor of the Underworld, Baruth, Ha Exine, and other rankers of Tong Tian Tower were lying on the ground in a mess. Under their exhaustion, they didn't care about their image anymore. Sky Wrath, Sky Calamity, Sky Crime, Sky Fury, Sky Assassinate, Sky Sword, and the others in the demonic palace were so tired that they were lying on the ground, panting heavily. Only Sky Disaster was smart enough. She had begged Yu Yang to bring her into the Heaven's Stairway to train with Sky Law, so she did not participate in the battle. Although it would be hard for Sky Disaster to catch up with Impatience, who had advanced by leaps and bounds, she shouldn't have a problem cultivating below 5,000 steps. Old Dragon Turtle and Elder Nangong also came. If it wasn't for their help, Sky Execution and the others would have to spend more effort to kill the Temple Elder. In this kind of super-level challenge, no one could remember how long this battle took. The entire rankers of Tong Tian Tower all came out. The battle was so intense that the sun and moon lost their light. The battle was so intense that they were exhausted. This was only killing a heaven-ranked level 5 Temple Elder. If this Temple Elder was a little stronger, or if Yu Yang didn't destroy his morale, the result would have been completely different. It's too scary. Heaven-ranked level 5 is actually so powerful without the restriction of the laws. Great Demon King Baruth was still scared. How did that brat capture the Temple Elder alone? Dragon Emperor could no longer imagine Yu Yang's strength. He himself is abnormal. Emperor of the Underworld couldn't explain. "What do you think?" Elder Nangong asked as he healed Sky Execution. "Exciting," Sky Execution replied coolly. Actually, he knew that Elder Nangong wasn't asking about his thoughts on the battle, but whether there was any possibility of improvement in his understanding of the battle. However, Sky Execution felt that this battle was really too exciting. The kind of ultimate challenge where the enemy could kill him in an instant at any time was like treading on thin ice. It was an extremely valuable experience in his life. In comparison, the battle with the Black Hell King and the Ancient Demon King was child's play. Even the invasion of the Nine Light Clan by the Heaven Queen was not as difficult as this battle. The Heaven Empress led the 9 Glory race in the invasion, and the hardest part was shouldered by Jizun, the Night Empress, and Yu Yang. Now, Jizun and Night Empress had gone to the Heaven Stairway, and Yu Yang had gone to the Heaven Realm to cultivate. That heavy burden was pressing down on them, making Sky Execution, who had become the leader, almost unable to breathe. Elder Ningong smiled. While he was ensuring everyone's safety, he took note of the process of the battle. He hoped that not only the super experts who were fighting here, but also the younger generation in the future could also gain experience from this kind of challenge, grow, and improve. No one knew when Yu Yang had appeared on the battlefield. The clear voice rang out, and only then did everyone realize that he had returned. Yu Yang smiled at God's retribution. Then he tossed the 2 shadows onto the ground. Exciting, isn't it? There was something even more exciting. These 2 are also Temple Elders, and they're even stronger than the previous Temple Elder. One of them is called Red Crane, and the other is called Chi Foam. They both have their own unique abilities. You guys continue to work hard. Sky Execution was stunned. Sky Wrath and Sky Calamity were so scared that their faces turned pale. They had just killed 1 Temple Elder, and now there were 2. Great Demon King Baruth knocked his head on the stone wall. He had the urge to commit suicide. Ever since he met Yu Yang, this abnormal brat, his life was over. Even Elder Nangong felt that Yu Yang's action of making 2 more Temple Elders was a little impatient. It was good to have pressure, especially this kind of pressure of death. It made it easier for people to improve. But now, no matter how great the pressure of death was, they could not force out much of their fighting power. After all, everyone was already at the limit of their limits. These two temple elders are not simple characters. In the heaven realm, it takes a total of 5 heaven stage level 5 and 1 peak heaven stage level 4 expert to work together. They also have to pay the price of serious injuries to be able to take them down. Yu Yang revealed a smile as bright as the sun. This kind of smiling face, let alone great demon kings like Baruth and Ha-Exen, even the mature and steady Dragon Emperor and Emperor of the Underworld had the urge to beat him up. Yu Yang calmly floated in the air under everyone's murderous gazes. Before he teleported away, he left behind a sentence. By the way, let me tell you, Chi Feng and Red Crane, these two temple elders recover very quickly. At least, they're not slower than you. This bastard, I want to kill him. Baruth cursed. Damn it. Dragon Emperor also gritted his teeth in hatred. What do we do now? Sky Wrath and Sky Calamity panicked and looked at their boss, God's Retribution. Exciting. God's Retribution reacted. It was still 2 words, but it was obvious that his voice was a little trembling, completely lacking the usual coldness. The 2 dying temple elders on the ground quickly summoned their war beasts to protect their bodies and desperately absorbed the energy of the heaven stage demon core to recover. Everyone cursed again. These 2 guys still had private goods, but Yu Yang did not find them at all. Perhaps he did not find them on purpose. In any case, these 2 guys were just pretending to be dead. Although Red Crane and Chi Feng could not move a finger, they were very calm, because the group of people opposite them were also very tired. They did not know what their fate would be in the future. But one thing was for sure, the battle was unavoidable. God's Retribution took out a martial spirit pill, put it in his mouth, and slowly swallowed it. If he did not use the spirit pill now, when would he? For the time being, he did not care about breaking through. He had to recover his strength and kill these 2 temple elders first. Besides, if he could kill these 2 temple elders, it would be hard for him not to break through. Dragon Emperor, Emperor of the Underworld, and Great Demon King Baruth all took out martial spirit pills and swallowed them. No matter what, he had to make a move before Red Crane and Chi Feng recovered their strength. Otherwise, victory would be slim. This would be a competition of time and willpower, and then strength and realm. Heaven Stairway. When Yu Yang reached the bottom of the heaven stairway, he released all the energy in his body, including the unconscious law energy source that he did not have time to completely absorb in the Earth Demon Temple. He intended to continue to comprehend the innate sovereign realm and reach the perfect innate sovereign realm. There were 3 reasons why he did this. First, to perfect himself. Second, to give Night Empress and Ji Zun a signal, telling them that he had reached the innate sovereign realm. Third, he hoped that after reaching the perfect innate sovereign realm, he would be able to summon the divine grimoire that he had been unable to summon. The divine grimoire did not move before reaching the innate sovereign realm. After Yu Yang reached the innate sovereign realm, it had some kind of response, but Yu Yang still could not summon it. That feeling was like the time when he did not have enough energy to instantly summon the divine grimoire. Yu Yang was sure that he might be able to summon the divine grimoire, but the method was not right, the technique was not enough, or the energy required was too much, and he could not satisfy it. Therefore, he hoped to comprehend the perfect, innate sovereign realm, absorb more law energy, and accumulate more innate chi. It was not a golden giant like the card of fate, but Yu Yang's innate sovereign realm exploded, and the golden energy shot out was at least 1,000 meters high. With the nirvana flame as the core, the heavens fury fire lotus and frost snowflakes covered the sky, as if it wanted to split the sky of the heaven stairway into 2. Purple lightning and law energy surrounded the fire pillar, constantly absorbing and refining the unconscious energy source. As Yu Yang exploded, heaven runes appeared one after another. They interweaved into thousands of mysterious patterns, and together they formed a bright and boundless ball of light core, with Yu Yang as the center, slowly rotating. At this moment, Yu Yang unconsciously released his divine sense pressure. Even the innate sovereigns and the Night Empress could feel it. A golden snake demon statue appeared on Little Wen Li's body, shouting silently in Yu Yang's creation domain. Her mind resonated with Yu Yang's. Not only did she help Yu Yang absorb the power of the ancient code faster, but she also comprehended and perfected a higher realm together. How could the perfect, innate, sovereign realm be without her participation? It was the same for Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai. One used the divine sense domain, and the other used the saint power domain to help Yu Yang improve his power. In terms of thinking, they also used the tacit understanding of the dual cultivation, the three of them as one, to climb to a higher and more perfect, innate sovereign realm together. Although the two of them were only assistants, they could also be a strong help, allowing Yu Yang to improve rapidly. In a safe place like the Heaven Stairway, Yu Yang did not have to worry about the safety of the surrounding environment. He could meditate without any distractions. Its brother, Yu Bing, who had a telepathic connection with Yu Yang, reacted the fastest and jumped up in surprise. Even though she could not see Yu Yang, she could easily tell that it was her brother from this familiar consciousness power. Let's go down. Yu made this decision without thinking. Quick, quick! And Anne couldn't wait any longer. She and Yu Bing rushed to the steps of the Heaven Stairway. Even though they knew that there would be at least a few hours before they could see him, they couldn't even wait for a second. This kid is now so strong that even I feel powerless. I'm jealous. Every time he is with Shui Wuxia, he will break through and improve. Could it be that Shui Wuxia's luck is so exaggerated? It seems that the status of the first wife is really hard to shake at the moment. Impatience, who is still climbing the higher heaven stairway, stopped in her tracks in surprise. After sensing Yu Yang's energy, the women who were working hard to climb up all returned excitedly. Even Ji Zun and the Night Empress, who were currently at the highest position, looked at each other. Ji Zun pondered for a moment. She shook her head. The Night Empress did not return alone, but waited quietly, as if waiting for Ji Zun to change her mind. After a while, Ji Zun asked, "Do you think it's really possible for him to achieve the perfect, innate realm?" The beautiful figure of the Night Empress swayed slightly in the starry sky domain. She seemed to raise her jade-like hand to cover her mouth and laugh. "If you are willing to help him, I can guarantee that he will succeed." Chapter 817. Yu Yang felt that he was like a stream rushing down a snowy mountain. With the help of Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai, and Little Wen Li, he was moving forward bravely. Every second, there were new insights. In the beginning, Yu Yang thought that the insights of the Supreme Realm was the end of a realm, and before he broke through, it would be the end of his realm. But now, he soon found that the end that he originally thought was suddenly left behind. Many new things rushed to his face, making him feel a sense of urgency that he almost didn't have time to feel. Because there was no need to worry about personal safety, his whole body and mind could be immersed in the comprehension of the new realm, and there was an endless supply of will-less law energy obtained from the Earth Demon Temple. Yu Yang's progress in the realm of thinking was like a heavenly eagle spreading its wings, flying higher and higher, reaching a world that was completely unimaginable before. Of course, it was not only him who benefited, but also Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai, who were in one with his mind. Even Little Wen Li's face was shining. She showed a look of enlightenment. Obviously, she had further recovered the battle memory and realm of her previous life. They were completely unaware of the passage of time, and they were also unaware of everything that had happened in the outside world. Their four hearts were beating at the same time, flowing smoothly in the new world where energy and will interweaved. Even Yu Yang, who was in charge, did not know when this enlightenment would end, nor did he know how high they would be able to climb. He only knew one thing. It was just the beginning. The real improvement was still coming, and it was far from reaching the limit. The 1,000-meter-tall energy beam was slowly growing as the essence of Yu Yang's thoughts faded and continued to climb the new realm. The starting point of the entire heaven stairway was shrouded in this mysterious and wonderful law energy. Sickly beauty, Yu and Bao Air, who returned for the top of the heaven stairway, were the first to arrive. Because they were afraid that they would affect Yu Yang, they all forcibly suppressed their excitement and looked from afar, not daring to approach. Yu Bing and Inan returned from the higher stairway, overtaking Lu Yi, Xia Yi, and Aquamarine. They were the second batch to reach the foot of the stairway. Unlike Yu Bing had a telepathic connection with her brother. He couldn't help it. She was completely unaware of Yu Yu's attempts to stop her. She ran towards Yu Yang and quickly merged into the world of his thoughts. She used her unique insights to assist her brother and contributed her meager but indispensable strength. Bing Air also went there. Is it really okay? Yu was very worried that her sister would affect Yu Yang's practice. Not only is there no problem, it seems to be even more helpful. Sickly Beauty made an accurate judgment. Then what should we do? Lu Yi and the others also rushed over. They also wanted to help Yu Yang, but they were worried that they wouldn't be able to merge as tacitly as Yu Bing. One must know that Yu Bing and Yu Yang shared the Gemini talent and mind talent. Usually, they could communicate with each other spiritually at any time, so there was absolutely no problem with their tacit understanding. They didn't know if their intrusion would be helpful to Yu Yang, so they were hesitant. Even Sickly Beauty, who understood Yu Yang the most, looked at Inan cautiously. Inan shared the spirit mirror talent with Yu Yang, Yu Bing, and Shui Wuxia in the Virgo temple of the Zodiac. Coupled with the official body fusion cultivation as husband and wife, their tacit understanding was not inferior to Yu Bing's. Inan was a little at a loss for what to do with everyone's help. She had a desire to merge into the energy field as soon as possible, but she wasn't sure if others could do it like her. While she was hesitating, the Southern Demon King, Drunken Cat, and Sky Disaster rushed over. The Southern Demon King, who had long been in the top position in the Eastern Goblin tribe, controlled countless territories, and even became an overlord, was more decisive than an ordinary person. She suggested to let Inan, Lu Yi, and other girls with tacit understanding or pure hearts try to merge first, to see if they could help Yu Yang more. Hai Yingwu Aquamarine, who was already the Ocean Empress, and Sky Disaster, who cultivated in the demonic palace and was knowledgeable, also expressed their support. In the end, Inan and Lu Yi carried everyone's hope. They calmed their minds and slowly entered the meditation energy field with Yu Yang as the center. They merged without any resistance. This was a good reaction, and everyone cheered. But even so, they still remained cautious and let Sickly Beauty and Yu step into the energy field to see if there was any possibility of repulsion. Actually, their worries were a little unnecessary. The current Yu Yang, not only would he not reject their mind merging, he welcomed it very much. Everyone's addition, to him, was a different kind of help. If the current Yu Yang's mind was like a river, then everyone's mental help after merging would be like small streams. Although they couldn't compare to him, when combined, it was very impressive. And in this process of merging, not only did it nurture Yu Yang, but it also improved them at the same time. Giant Lowly, Red Man, Duo, and IK, who were stronger and trained in the higher heaven stairway space, were madly rushing down. Night Empress and Ji Zun returned from the highest space. The distance between them was quickly closing. It wouldn't be long before he surpassed them. Impatience couldn't wait to overtake them and catch up with Raging Flame and Spirit of Heaven Fire. The War Godguard sisters and Hornless Dragon Jiang were on their way back. Seeing Impatience's anxiousness, they also followed closely, leaving Raging Flame and Spirit of Heaven Fire behind, constantly widening the distance between them. I, at Heaven Stage Level 6, am actually so weak. Captain Raging Flame sighed helplessly. Spirit of Heaven Fire didn't have great wisdom, but she could understand the desire to integrate into the energy field as soon as possible and help her master. Raging Flame gritted her teeth and followed closely behind her. If she couldn't catch up with the War Godguard sisters, Jiang and Sky Law, Raging Flame would accept it. But if she couldn't even catch up with Spirit of Heaven Fire, she wouldn't be able to forgive herself. Time passed minute by minute. Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. If he hadn't obtained Sister Xin Yang's inheritance of knowledge before, Yu Yang definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand the fusion of so many different consciousnesses. But now, he felt that he was like a great river. No matter how many streams joined in, it wouldn't be a burden, nor would it exceed the limits of what he could bear. On the contrary, it was a kind of strengthening, making him more powerful and tolerant. Everyone had a different perception of everything and every battle. Yu Yang had never thought that one day he would be able to obtain the experience of so many people at the same time. This fusion of different perspectives and different thoughts was extremely rich. Although it wasn't higher than Sister Xi Nyang's inheritance of knowledge, it was definitely more complex, more diverse, and more exquisite. Using everyone's help, Yu Yang strengthened himself as much as he could every minute and second. While he was assimilating everything, he continued to surpass himself at the same time. On one hand, he opened up new realms, and on the other hand, he comprehended the knowledge inheritance that Sis Xin Yang had left behind. It could be said that the current him was killing many birds with one stone. This kind of cultivation was something he had never thought of before. It was also unimaginable to everyone. It was completely a kind of coincidence, a kind of fortune, a kind of special cultivation that was born because of the maturity of the opportunity. It was unique, and no one could replicate it. No one could be like Yu Yang, who could completely accommodate everyone's thoughts. No one could be like him, who could allow so many people to help him unreservedly. No one could be like Sister Xin Yang's inheritance of knowledge, the source of unconscious law energy, and the tacit fusion of mind and spirit. This kind of opportunity couldn't be replicated by any human or material resources. This was definitely the first time in history, and it was also the only time in history. When Impatience and the others rushed back, Yu Yang realized that his help had become even greater. If he was originally a surging stream, then after obtaining the help of Shui Wuxia and Princess Isai, he became a small, fast-flowing river. With the addition of Yu Bing and Yu Yang's speed of leveling up had turned into a wide river. When Phoenix Fairy Beauty and the others joined in, Yu Yang's power surged like a raging river. His power was boundless, and his momentum was ferocious. Ji Zun and Night Empress arrived and looked at everything in front of them in surprise. All of this was far beyond their imagination. While they were quietly watching, Red, Aman, Duo, Ikaka, and the others rushed in. When the giant Loli rushed into the energy field, the energy pillar in the sky had actually risen to more than 2,000 meters, which made Ji Zun and Night Empress awestruck. No one had ever tried to cultivate like this, and no one knew that this cultivation would succeed. However, Night Empress and Ji Zun were now sure. This time, Yu Yang would definitely succeed, but it was still unknown what realm he could reach with everyone's help. After another half an hour, Captain Raging Flames and Spirit of Heaven Fire joined in. Yu Yang had been meditating with everyone's help for 3 hours. In a sense, the energy pillar that represented the realm had risen to more than 2,300 meters. Moreover, it did not stop completely but slowly increased. This should be the will of the heavens. Since the heavens favor him so much, let's help him. Night Empress's voice sounded. She was actually not worried that Ji Zun would not help. For Yu Yang, Ji Zun was more concerned about him than she was. It was just that with Ji Zun's face, if she did not find an excuse of the will of the heavens, it would be a little embarrassing to face Shui Wuxia and the others in the future. After all, to integrate into the energy field, everyone had to open their hearts and minds and fully support Yu Yang. Some of the more personal secrets might not be kept. Ji Zun nodded slightly and no longer watched. She knew that if she and Night Empress joined in, the energy pillar that represented Yu Yang's realm and potential would at least be able to break through 3,000 meters. This was extremely beneficial to him. One must know that the higher one went, the more difficult it would be. Every 100 meters was a completely different realm. Moreover, joining into a system would also be beneficial to her. Although he had obtained the highest level of improvement, wouldn't they also benefit from comprehending the new realm together? When Night Empress and Ji Zun arrived one after the other, They reached out their hands and pressed on Yu Yang's body. Yu Yang's body shook, and a huge energy burst out from his body. The entire energy field instantly had an even more brilliant and gorgeous halo, shaped like a rainbow, surrounding the outside. The energy pillar rose hundreds of meters and easily broke through 3,000 meters. If Yu Yang's previous improvement was like an unstoppable river, then the assistance of Night Empress and Jizun was like two huge lakes. The endless energy in the realm that far exceeded Yu Yang's brought him an impact that was completely indescribable. Another hour passed, and Yu Yang was still unable to fully comprehend the new realm brought by Jizun and Night Empress. Especially Jizun. He felt that he almost didn't need to walk to move forward. It was completely her dragging him to fly forward. That kind of speed was even faster than flying. Not only him, Shui Wuxia and the others also felt the same way. In the energy field, everyone shared each other's everything. Everyone obtained new knowledge from others through Yu Yang and improved themselves through Yu Yang. Every moment, everyone was in the process of sublimation. After an unknown amount of time, just when Yu Yang and Jizun thought that they had already reached the final realm, the energy pillar slowly stopped rising. In the sky, the clear cry of the phoenix resounded through the clouds. Qiling Girl Bing jumped out and directly jumped onto Yu Yang's back. With a little bit of mischievous consciousness, she instantly communicated with everyone. Her appearance made Shui Wuxia and the others very surprised. One must know that this Qiling girl was not a simple character. Usually, she would not come out no matter how many people called her. In addition, there were two new consciousnesses that only Jizun and Night Empress could barely sense, but they were focused on Yu Yang's body. Others knew that there was something wrong, but they could not sense the existence of this energy. Jizun felt a shock in her heart. She originally thought that she had already reached the ultimate realm, but it was shattered. All of a sudden, a new and endless mysterious world appeared. She felt as if there was a sword passing through her body and piercing between Yu Yang's eyebrows. This sword not only pierced through the highest realm created by Yu Yang and herself, but also pierced the sky. No, it was not the sky. It was the world of laws of the entire world tree. Who was it? Who broke the limit of the realm? Who connected the entire heaven stairway world with sword energy? Before Jizun could think about it, she suddenly discovered that the laws of the entire world tree were magically connected with Yu Yang. The unconscious law energy source that had been absorbed by Yu Yang had now been replaced. The vast law energy, like the sea, instantly rushed into the energy field and rushed into Yu Yang's body. At this moment, Yu Yang had an illusion that he was at the center of the big universe explosion. With the explosion, his soul expanded endlessly. The weakest Bao'er, Xia Yi, and Yu Yu fainted in less than a second, and their souls automatically escaped from the shock of this cosmic explosion. Yu Bing and Anan persisted for 3 seconds. Red and Aman, as divine envoys and divine generals, also reached the limit in 5 seconds. Impatience, fallen flowers, and Princess Sisai clenched their teeth and persisted for 7 seconds. In the end, they fell to the ground. Only Shui Wuxia held on with her divine sense domain for 10 seconds. The Night Empress, whose strength was far above everyone else, could only hold on for 30 seconds. Only Jizun could hold on for a minute. In the end, she fainted at the same time as Yu Yang, and their minds were always in sync. Before losing consciousness, Jizun seemed to see a 10-meter-long and incomparably brilliant grimoire shining in front of her. Is it a grimoire? She could no longer think. She fell down, lying on Yu Yang's body, and fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 8:18. When Lu Yi woke up, she felt as if she had been in the dream for thousands of years. An indescribable realm, knowledge, and energy filled her whole heart like an ocean. It was so full that it seemed to overflow at any time. She knew that if it wasn't for her realm being insufficient and unable to accommodate more, the things she gained in the dream would be more than 10,000 times more than now. That kind of endless world was brought to her by Yu Yang, and everyone had different degrees of comprehension. Lu Yi had never thought that in this world, there was actually such an unimaginably vast and limitless existence like the universe. Master. Lu Yi sat up and anxiously wanted to see if anything had happened to Yu Yang. She wasn't sure if it would affect her master when she lost control and fainted. "You're awake?" Sickly Beauty appeared in front of Lu Yi and handed her a glass of water with her soft jade hand. "Your potential is really good. You slept for 3 days." 3 days? Lu Yi didn't understand what her sleeping for 3 days had to do with her potential, but she had always respected Sickly Beauty, Mistress Wuan. Lu Yi subconsciously took the cup and asked inexplicably, "I was unconscious for 3 days." Yes, the more you gain in the new realm, the more time your body needs to adjust and adapt. You slept for 3 days, and the longer the adjustment time, it proves that you have gained more. You know, Bauer and Xiaonu woke up the fastest only 1 day. Yu, Xiaoyi, and I all took about 2 days. This can prove that you have more potential than a few of us. When Sickly Beauty took back Lu Ye's cup, Lu Yi was surprised to find that on her finger there was a strand of crystal clear energy that was almost invisible to the naked eye, wrapped around her finger. In an instant, Lu Yi felt that her heart seemed to have opened, and she could directly talk to Mistress Wuhan in her heart. "What is this?" Lu Yi found that there was also this kind of energy filament between her fingers, but it was not the same as the energy filament of Sickly Beauty. "A knot in my heart." Sickly Beauty smiled as she gently stroked the hair on her forehead. After the training of mind and soul fusion, each of us obtained this special mind skill. Yu, and I decided to call it the heart connection knot. Although the form is different for everyone, it can indeed be used to communicate with the soul. Spiritual energy. Lu Yi was pleasantly surprised to find that this kind of energy could not be stopped by anything and could only be controlled by her own will. "Look." Sickly Beauty did not reply. Instead, she pointed her finger into the distance. Lu Yi looked up and realized that the energy field of Yu Yang's creation domain was still gathering and not dissipating. She was still enveloped within it. The entire energy field was filled with all sorts of extremely beautiful spirit energy ribbons. They were of different shapes, yet each had their own characteristics. Some were large, some were small, some were like flowers, and some were like ribbons. They interweaved together to form numerous extremely profound heart-linking patterns. Yu Bing, Inan, and the others were still in a deep sleep. Most of them were lying on the ground, unconscious. They were still immersed in the energy field. Their bodies also made different degrees of adjustments due to the breakthrough of the new realm. Lu Yi saw that the Night Empress's heart connection knot was the most beautiful. It was like one star after another, connected by starlight. The interwoven pattern was also the most gorgeous among the crowd. The bright and shining brilliance was simply too much for her to take in. As for Ji Zun's heart connection knot, the sword light soared into the sky. It was so cold that no one could look directly at it. Even if it was an unconscious spirit energy, no one dared to have any blasphemous thoughts. Ji Zun's heart connection knot was also the only unique existence with a huge image protection. That spirit image was very similar to her, but it was sitting cross-legged with its palms clasped and eyes closed. It had a little more divine power and a little less of an ordinary woman's gentleness. When Lu Yi saw it, her soul shook, and she couldn't help but give birth to a kind of worship and respect. She didn't know what the image in the middle of Ji Zun's heart connection knot represented, but the most intuitive telepathy was that it was a sacred existence. Unlike Ji Zun, Yu Yang did not have a heart connection knot, nor did he have any image protection. He was lying in the center of everyone. His entire body emitted a kind of vast energy that was as boundless as the galaxy in the universe. It was constantly supplied to the people who were still sleeping, so that they could adapt to the adjustment of their bodies after breaking through to the new realm faster. When Lu Yi saw Yu Yang's sleeping appearance, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curve slightly. She was very amused, but she restrained herself and didn't laugh out loud. Yu Yang's grimoire had changed a lot. It was 3 meters long and 1 meter wide. The runes on it were shining, and the unique world was also constantly absorbing energy. Seeing this, Lu Yi couldn't help but feel happy for Yu Yang. She used to hear Yu Yang often complain about the slow advancement of his grimoire. He was almost promoted to a diamond grimoire, but he just didn't advance. Now her master should be able to rest assured. How could his grimoire not be a diamond grimoire? It seemed that after advancing to a diamond grimoire, it was a little different. However, he was her master anyway. Anything could happen. Lu Yi didn't investigate too much about the changes in Yu Yang's grimoire. While being gently helped up by sickly beauty, Lu Yi looked back at Shui Wuxia. She realized that this Miss Shui of the Shui family was indeed the first mistress. Among the heart-linking knots that entangled Yu Yang's body, Shui Wuxia's heart-linking knot was the most beautiful and the most wonderful. It was completely composed of runes. The runes that kept rotating were all variations of ancient runes. Lu Yi didn't recognize any of them. However, she had a telepathic feeling. Those runes must be the secret words that Mistress Wuxia told her master. It was estimated that only her master alone could understand its meaning. With this heart-linking knot, her master would never mistake Mistress Wuxia. No one would be able to imitate her. You also have your unique specialty, your purity, your kindness, and your courage to overcome all obstacles are irreplaceable. Sickly Beauty's heart-linking knot was still connected to Lu Ye's heart-linking knot. She naturally knew Lu Ye's current thoughts and comforted her softly. Yes, thank you, mistress. Lu Ye's jade face blushed. Was this Mistress Wu Hen's acceptance? She didn't dare to think too much and hurriedly put away the heart-linking knot, for fear that Sickly Beauty would read her shy heart. How could Sickly Beauty not know Lu Ye's thoughts? She just didn't want to expose her. She gently patted Lu Ye's pink little face and said, "Go take a bath. Bao Air and the others are playing at the hot spring. Don't worry about training. Let's wait for Yu Yang to wake up first." Lu Yi nodded obediently. However, before leaving, she couldn't help but turn back and sneak another glance at him. When she flew up, she was about to step forward according to the flying dance steps taught by Yu Yang, but she was surprised to find that her body was 100 times lighter than usual. As soon as she soared into the air, she could move at will. She didn't need to control her body like usual. Energy automatically flowed through her body, and the distance of a kilometer could be covered in just a thought. It was no worse than riding the perforate deer or the synchronized teleportation of unity of spirit and God. There was an illusion that the sky seemed to have become shorter and the world became smaller. This is? Lu Yi was shocked and landed in the hot spring 10 kilometers away. She originally estimated that it would take at least a minute to arrive, but now it only took 10 seconds. If she rode the perforate deer or used teleportation, it would probably be faster. It was not teleportation, but pure flight. The void strolled, but it was better than usual what happened to her body. A naked and tender body threw itself into Lu Ye's arms. Bao Er's clear voice rang intimately in her ear. "Sister Lu Yi is so beautiful. Bao Er also wants to be a goddess, but unfortunately, I'm still lacking. Who asked you to not train seriously? Xiaonu is much stronger than you." Xia Yi was bubbling in the hot spring. "No, Xiaonu doesn't need to become a god's messenger. I just need to be by master's side." The half-elf slave shyly hid in the hot spring, only revealing a small head. However, the huge and plump weapon couldn't be hidden at all. It was looming in the water, making Lu Yi feel inferior. Although she was used to seeing it, now it seemed that when the half-elf slave's weapon was exposed, she really realized how powerful it was and how shocking it was. What god's messenger? Lu Yi subconsciously wanted to ask what Xiaonu ate to develop like this, but she quickly swallowed the words back. In fact, it was okay here. Compared to Bao Er's young girl's delicate body and Xia Yi, who always hated flat breasts, Lu Yi wouldn't feel too inferior in her heart. Xiaonu was an exception, and she couldn't be compared to her. Except for Skylaw, no one could compare. Xia Yi threw a mirror to Lu Yi. Lu Yi looked at it and exclaimed, "This is me." The person in the mirror, Lu Yi had a kind of shock that she couldn't recognize. The holy and beautiful appearance showed a slight surprise. Whether it was the supreme wolf flashing in the pupils or the God's messenger mark, inlaid like a diamond on the forehead, it all reflected that the owner of this mirror was a strong person who was promoted to God's messenger. How is it possible I have just surpassed the innate realm and the innate supreme realm is still far away? How can I become a God's messenger? Did the mirror make a mistake? Yu appeared behind Lu Yi. Her body exuded a burst of slightly intoxicating virgin fragrance. Even Lu Yi, who was shocked, could easily smell it. Lu Yi was shocked to find that Yu's body had undergone some strange changes, but she didn't understand what it was. Not only Yu, but also the previous sickly beauty, Bao Er, Xiaonu, and Xia Yi in front of her, all had new changes, which made Lu Yi feel like a dream. Am I still in a dream? Don't doubt it. This is just one of the many gains we got from Xiao San, Jizun, and Night Empress. I believe that there are more abilities waiting for us to unlock. Lu Yi, don't be nervous, just hide the God's messenger mark. In fact, we can't be regarded as God's messengers yet. Our realm was brought by Jizun and the guidance of countless seniors in the World Tree Heaven Stairway. If we can't reach the God's messenger realm, then it's too bad. But we have only reached the realm, and our real strength is far from enough. If it's like Xiao San's usual example, we now have flying war beasts, but we can't ride them, we can't fly into the sky, and we have to look up at the sky from the ground. As long as we continue to cultivate, we can at least reach the realm we have now. We don't need to worry about potential or bottlenecks, because Xiao San and Jizun have already helped us. What we have to do is to try our best not to cause trouble for him, so that he can focus more on improving. Yu reached out and gently hugged Lu Ye's shoulder, patiently explaining to her who had just woken up. Yes, I will definitely do my best. The half-elf slave clenched her fist and stood up from the hot spring. Wow, so white, so big, Bauer exclaimed. Everyone was stunned when they saw it. It took a long time for them to react. Yu and Lu Yi looked away, while Xia Yi punched Bao on the head. What a fool, where are you looking at? Don't you have one yourself? The half-elf slave was greatly embarrassed. She covered her face with her hands and quickly squatted down. She hid in the water like a quail, only daring to show up above her small nose. In order to cover up her gaffe just now, Lu Yi quickly took off her clothes and slid into the hot spring. On the side, Yu, who was about to go into the water, inadvertently glanced at Lu Ye's chest. Suddenly, her whole body froze. They were dumbfounded. Chapter 819. What's wrong? After Lu Yi went into the water, she found that Yu's expression was strange. She was shocked and thought that something was wrong with her. It's nothing. Yu came back to her senses and waved her hand. Sister Lu Yi, your golden lock is so beautiful. Bao Er swam over and found the rune golden lock on Lu Ye's chest. Her eyes lit up. My master gave it to me. If she didn't say that I can't lose it, it doesn't matter if I give it to you. Lu Yi covered the snow mound on her chest with one hand and carefully took out the rune golden lock with the other hand. Bao Er looked closer with a little curiosity. She didn't know many heaven runes. Naturally, she couldn't understand the rune array on this rune golden lock. Xia Yi was silent. She was not interested in the rune golden lock. However, Yu's surprised expression just now made her feel that there must be some connection between the two. However, it was none of her business, so she didn't need to pursue too much. The careful half-elf slave secretly glanced at Yu. Although Yu had regained her calm on the surface, her heart was actually like a tsunami, churning nonstop. Lu Yi also had this rune golden lock. What did this mean? Was she her sister? Was she also a descendant of the Yu clan? What made Yu's mind most confused was the completely different information she got from her father and fifth grandfather. According to what they said, the one who was born on the battlefield that year was very likely Lu Yi, because only she had the cleansing inherent skill, could dispel the demon clan, and could save her father and the others who were surrounded by the demon clan. Because he was worried about the pursuers, her father did not leave the newborn baby behind. The baby was taken away by his comrades. Her father stayed behind and was eventually captured. Later, He was rescued by the demon clan countess and escaped back. What was the truth of that year's matter? Her father had died in the battle, so there was no way to investigate. However, she deduced from the many clues. She was very likely to be a substitute that was brought back. Yi was afraid that the tears in her eyes would be discovered by everyone, so she dived deep into the bottom of the hot spring. Like a mermaid, she sat on a rock and borrowed this oppressive and breathless space to release the pressure in her heart and calm the chaos in her heart. Only in this kind of place where no one could see could his heart find a trace of peace. How would he face Xiao San in the future? If he found out that she wasn't his sister, would he still be like this? Could she still look after him, help him in the laboratory, and take care of him in every possible way? What would others think of him if he told others about this? If he found out the truth, how sad would Lu Yi be? Lu Yi, she was so kind and pure. Her love was tied to little San, her master. If she knew the truth, would Lu Yi commit suicide? However, if this matter was not spoken of, what would happen if Lu Yi found out about it in the future? Perhaps it would be even more painful. Even if he didn't say anything, how long could he hide this matter? Father was gone. Grandfather and fifth grandfather must know the truth. If Lu Yi wanted to marry Xiao San and they came out to stop it, what should he do? Could it be that he had to tell the truth about Xiao San's identity? If grandfather and fifth grandfather knew that Xiao San only inherited the title of third uncle and was just a life created by Sister Xin Yang on the Divine Hope Flower Tree, it would probably hurt more people's hearts. Xin Yang would also not agree to him saying it. This was not only about Xiao San, but also Bing Er and Shuang Er. What should he do? Should he pursue this matter to the end? The truth was a kind of harm to himself. It was also a blow to Lu Yi, grandfather, and fifth grandfather. It was also an extremely cruel truth to Xiao San, Bing Er, and Shuang Er. What should he do? Yu Yu's thoughts became more and more chaotic. There was a kind of contradiction between advancing and retreating. She would rather she had never seen the golden rune lock on Lu Ye's neck and never knew the truth. At least in that way, she could still maintain the status quo and continue to live in a muddle in the future without worrying about reality. Under the hot spring, in the midst of almost suffocating thinking, Yu Yu, who had a headache, suddenly felt that there was a trace of calmness in her mind. She didn't know when the beast tide came out automatically and gave her a thought. In the past, the tide did not have a human form and had no intelligence. When Yu Yu broke through and was promoted to the divine envoy realm in Yu Yang's energy field, it also evolved in the endless law energy. Unknowingly, it evolved into a human form and also had intelligence. Perhaps because of the awakening in that realm, although its intelligence was at the primary level, it was surprisingly familiar with human nature. As a quasi-holy beast, she knew how to take care of her master. Although she couldn't understand her master's troubles, she naturally chose to share when she saw her master's repressed pain. She also isolated the surrounding water so that her master would not suffocate. Seeing the tide, who looked 70 to 80% similar to herself but looked like a water child, Yu Yu couldn't help but reach out and caress her. "Thank you. I'm fine. Just let me calm down." The tide didn't speak and sat quietly beside Yu Yu. She didn't know how to comfort her master and could only accompany her quietly. Yu Yu saw that she was worried about her, and her mind suddenly became strong. Whether Lu Yi was her biological sister or not, or she was the real third miss of the Yu family, she was just a substitute. These were not reasons for her to avoid it in her heart. A long time ago, she swore to little San that she would take care of him for a lifetime. This matter couldn't be an obstacle. Untie this knot in her heart. No matter what the truth was, no matter what the world thought, she must stay by little San's side, support him, and take care of him. Thinking of this, Yu Yu stood up, reached out, and gently stroked the head of the tide. There was a kind of firmness in her eyes that was usually not there. She swam out of the hot spring and floated away under the strange gazes of Xia, Yi, and the others. Returning to the energy field, she saw that Yu Yang was still asleep, and Sickly Beauty was waiting quietly outside, looking after him. Yu Yu nodded to her. "Little Sen hasn't woken up yet." It's enough for you to look after him here. I want to take advantage of this period of time to go to the heaven's stairway, to gain experience, and see if I can integrate the perception of the new realm and improve myself as soon as possible. Sickly Beauty was stunned at first. Yu was usually not interested in practicing. What was wrong with her today? However, she didn't ask further. She just nodded. Don't worry, I will stay here all the time. You work hard first. When he wakes up, I will catch up with him. Yu hugged her gently. Her wings spread out the angel's blade, and she soared into the sky. Yu didn't know how to deal with the problems of reality. She had already given up on those, and instead, she doubled down on her beliefs. If she stayed by Yu Yang's side, she would be able to help him in all aspects. Thus, Yu hoped that before he woke up, she would be able to gain experience and level up. This way, she would be able to truly help him and not cause him trouble. Of course, this could also temporarily calm the chaos in her mind. Putting aside everything, she cultivated and improved. Yu embarked on the Heaven Stairway's cultivation path again. She had never been so focused before. In the past, she didn't like to fight and had a peaceful temperament. She didn't have a high desire for cultivation and improvement, and she mostly let nature take its course. Now, with a determination and desire that she had never had before, she transformed it into her motivation to move forward. Heaven Stairway's 1,000 steps, 1,500 steps, 2,500 steps, 3,000 steps. Yu never thought that she could rush to the height of 3,000 steps in one go. Facing the energy shadow Fire Spirit King of the 3,000 steps test, with its super powerful protection, Yu welcomed it without fear. With an explosive fighting spirit that she had never seen before, she waved the angel's blade. 1 day passed. 10 days passed. Half a month later, when Sickly Beauty saw the awakened Night Empress, she slowly walked out and suddenly sensed an indescribable vast energy rising into the sky from somewhere in the sky. Compared to Red's promotion to Oracle, a man's promotion to Divine General after inheriting the 5 elements pillar's divine power was no weaker. This vast energy didn't have a trace of hostility. It was as gentle as a lake or as calm as the sea. The feeling of being born at that moment was like seeing a waterfall falling from the sky and hanging on the surface of the lake. It was clearly 1,000 feet of flowing water, but it didn't cause a single ripple. It completely turned into a gentle drizzle. Despite being in an extremely high space, Sickly Beauty could still clearly sense it. She even had a wonderful feeling of reading the other party's mood. It's Yu. She has been promoted to a real oracle. Night Empress stood beside Sickly Beauty, and the Starlight Domain was even more dazzling. Her beautiful figure looked up at the sky, and her heavenly voice sounded softly. She has already been promoted to the oracle realm before being an innate sovereign. Yu Yang has added another miracle to this world. Although it is a miracle, it seems that Yu has really worked hard. I thought that it would take a long time for her to be promoted to the real oracle realm. I didn't expect her to be ahead of all of you. She has always been working hard. Sickly Beauty smiled when she heard this. There was a little pride in her smile, because she was the one who understood Yu the most. Heaven Stairway, 5,000 steps. After the 10th unswerving challenge, Yu finally defeated the Guardian Sea Spirit King of the 5,000 step and obtained the highest recognition of the 5,000 steps rule energy. She seemed to be able to see the predecessor who left an energy shadow on the 5,000th step. At the same time that she was promoted to an oracle by integrating the rule energy she left behind, the Sea Spirit King also merged with the tide, changed, and became a Diamond Level 5 Tsunami Witch, Diamond Level 5, Humanoid Elemental War Beast, Guardian War Beast, imitates the Master's appearance, Elemental Form, Special Skills Tsunami, Spring, Sky Waterfall, Dark Tide, Whirlpool, Spirit, and Master Unite. When Yu walked out of the energy pillar of promotion, there were 2 tears of joy on her cheeks. The Tsunami Witch, who was 90% similar to her, was no longer a child. She had grown to the appearance of 14 or 15 years old. Although immature, Her slightly immature elemental body and appearance made people feel as if they were looking at Yu's sister. It was very easy to have an illusion. The tsunami which half knelt on the ground to welcome her master. She, who had been promoted to a holy beast, had already learned elegant etiquette from her master's sharing of wisdom. Yu gently hugged the tsunami which, as if she was hugging a sister to welcome her. Then, the tsunami which turned into an energy form. She merged into Yu's body. The spirit and master unite allowed the tsunami which to learn, imitate, and sense everything about her master at all times, allowing her to grow under the influence of her master. Similarly, she could also provide more convenient help to her master in life or in battle. Yu returned to the heaven stairway. Sickly Beauty and the others were all at the foot of the mountain to welcome her. She hugged everyone one by one. After a period of hard training, Yu was already very different from before. The current her was not only stronger, but she had also completely untied the knot in her heart that had been entangled for a long time. When Yu hugged Lu Yi, she gently blessed her in her ear. Lu Yi, you have to work hard too. It was impossible for Lu Yi to understand the meaning behind Yu's words. She only treated it as an ordinary encouragement. No one knew the truth, including Lu Yi, who was the last to hug. Only Sickly Beauty, who understood Yu the most. Only she could guess a little. Yu smiled. I haven't seen you smile so comfortably for a long time. Sickly Beauty looked at Yu and said with a double meaning, not only me, everyone should smile more. Yu replied with a smile. Her red lips and white teeth looked especially amiable today, like a gentle breeze that gently brushed past everyone's heart. Chapter 820. When Yu woke up, he found himself lying on the ground. There was a dull pain in his body. That kind of pain was the same as the soreness caused by breaking through too fast at certain times, and the body could not fully adapt to it. But it was more serious. How long have I been lying down? Yu Yang's heart moved, and just as he was about to sit up, he suddenly realized that Ji Zun was lying on his chest. An indescribable virgin fragrance filled his lungs, and her soft and wonderful body was pressed against him. She, who was sleeping with her face turned sideways, seemed to be still in a dream. Usually, he was used to seeing Ji Zun's sternness, seeing her smile, and seeing her anger, but he had never seen Ji Zun at such a close distance, and had never seen her sleeping sweetly. At this time, she was indeed very different from usual. For a moment, Yu forgot her identity. He suddenly wanted to reach out and touch her face gently. He couldn't tell what kind of mentality it was, but this action was completely from the bottom of his heart. Perhaps it was the attraction of his soul. With a slight movement, Yu found that his right hand was pressed down by Ji Zun's arm, and he couldn't move at all. If he pulled away a little forcefully, Ji Zun would probably wake up. Forget it, don't I still have my left hand? Yu tried to control his left hand, and suddenly he was shocked again. He didn't know when his left hand was hugging Ji Zun's slender waist. Did I keep hugging her to sleep? This gave Yu a big shock. If Ji Zun knew about this, it would probably be a light punishment. Yu knew that the difficulty of defeating Ji Zun was even more difficult than defeating the three great leaders of the Heaven Realm, and even more difficult than conquering the Central Shrine. If he made a move too recklessly now, it would easily make her dislike him and increase the difficulty of conquering her. Although Yu had long been determined to take down the strongest Ji Zun, it was still too early to say anything now. Without enough strength, without her approval, it would be impossible to topple the current number one person in Tongtian Tower for the time being. She wouldn't know if she was asleep. If it was just a touch, there was an evil demon in Yu's heart that kept tempting him. Just a touch. She definitely wouldn't know. This was the best opportunity. Nervously swallowing his saliva, Yu encouraged himself again and again. In the end, he mustered up his courage. If he was going to die, then so be it. Even if she accidentally broke his finger, he would accept it. Opportunity knocks but once. His left hand slowly moved downwards. Yu Yang's left hand was trembling slightly because he was too nervous and had an indescribable excitement in his heart. It's here, it's almost there. When Yu Yang's trembling left hand touched a beautiful and round arc, Jizun's eyes suddenly opened and glared at Yu Yang. He was so scared that his heart almost jumped out. What do you think about all day long? Jizun did not speak, but her stern will directly penetrated Yu Yang's mind. I'm not thinking about anything. Yu Yang hurriedly pretended to be an obedient child. Fortunately, there were no lewd thoughts in his mind. Otherwise, she would have seen through him. That's not right. Yu Yang found that he did not speak, and Jizun did not speak either. How did she enter his mind with her will? And this was not an invasion, but a kind of spiritual resonance, as if the two of them were born to be able to talk to each other in their hearts. What happened? Keep your mind empty and forbid any thoughts. Jizun's position on Yu Yang's chest remained the same. Maybe she had just woken up mentally, and it would take some time for her to really recover and take over the body. Yu Yang was a little regretful. If he wasn't so nervous just now and reached out a little faster, he would have touched it. He missed this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He didn't know when the next time would be. These thoughts flashed through his mind like lightning. Under Jizun's gaze, Yu Yang quickly calmed his mind and returned to the state of emptiness. He didn't know if Jizun's request was to take the opportunity to not let him see her disheveled appearance, or if she wanted to punish him. Forget it. Although I didn't feel it clearly, at least I touched it a little. It feels really good. Even if I have to suffer a little punishment, it's not a loss. A few thoughts flashed through his mind, and Yu Yang gradually fell into the state of emptiness and completely calmed down. The energy on Jizun's body erupted. It rushed out from the vast energy field around Yu Yang's body, and the energy beam reached the sky, reaching hundreds of meters high. It was extremely resounding and instantly reversed. It was projected on the head of the holy image that was similar to the image of Jizun. The holy image became even more brilliant, and behind the head, a rainbow-like light wheel flashed. On the palms of the holy image, countless golden energy emerged and transformed into different but mysterious divine swords. They automatically rotated in the light wheel, forming a new circle of swords. The holy image guardian that was similar to Jizun suddenly opened its eyes. The world was filled with light in an instant. Even the women who were climbing the heaven stairway were shocked to find that the entire heaven stairway world had turned into a world of light. Jizun grabbed Yu Yang's left hand and gently scratched it with her fingers. Yu Yang's palm split open. Blood splashed out. Jizun's jade-like wrist turned half a circle, slender as the moon, and gently guided. The blood that splashed out formed a strange blood hexagram, imprinted on Jizun's forehead. At the same time as the blood hexagram was imprinted on Jizun's forehead, her fragrant body leaned forward, and her face touched Yu Yang's face, and their foreheads were tightly pressed together. Yu Yang maintained his ethereal consciousness, and in an instant, he was led by Jizun's supreme will and flew into a wonderful and indescribable spiritual space. There, Jizun's soul and Yu Yang's soul merged into one, completing the previous soul contract between Queen Vivian Li and Yu Yang. Of course, the soul contract had another name in the heaven realm, and that was divine contract. In the process of completing the soul contract, Yu Yang sensed Jizun's realm and many secrets that she didn't know. Similarly, Jizun also shared many of Yu Yang's inner secrets, other than the secrets of the heavenly sword goddess and crossing over, which even Queen Vivian Li couldn't share. Many of Yu Yang's habits and secrets in life were already revealed to the current Jizun, because there was no need to worry that Yu Yang's realm wasn't high enough to bear it, and Jizun didn't hold back during the soul contract. Yu Yang and Jizun both obtained more personal secrets than the soul contract between Fei Wenli and Yu Yang. Even the knowledge inheritance that Sister Xin Yang gave to Yu Yang was shared by Jizun, because that kind of knowledge inheritance was too vast. Moreover, some of the extremely profound knowledge was only imprinted in Yu Yang's mind. Jizun estimated that only 1/3 of what she really obtained from Yu Yang. Yu Yang gained more from Jizun, including all kinds of questions and insights in her cultivation. There were also fighting skills and habits of life. There were even three aspects of Ji-Zun's comprehension of divine power, and divine deity that shocked Yu Yang. Ji-Zun didn't have the strength of a divine sovereign, but because she had helped Yu Yang break through the infinite realm, she had actually comprehended to the divine sovereign's divine realm. In time, she would be the unique radiant goddess. In her first embrace of divine deity, execution of divine power, and supreme divine power, that was light, absolutely supreme light. Why? Yu Yang really didn't understand. Why did Ji-Zun do this? She, who had already comprehended divine deity, was destined to be born as a god. Why did she still want to make a soul contract with him? She did almost no good for her, because she didn't gain much from him. Instead, she selflessly shared all her years of cultivation and the awakening of the divine sovereign with him. If he died in battle, she, who had a soul contract with him, would also die with him. She was already destined to be the future radiant goddess, forever young and immortal, such a divine realm existence. Why would she want to experience the test of life and death with him? This question, after Yu Yang's soul returned and woke up again, he was still puzzled. Return. Ji-Zun flew into the sky. The huge divine image immediately merged into her body. Suddenly, hundreds of millions of rays of light shone on the earth, and the entire heaven stairway turned into daylight. Nothing could hide. The blood hexagram on her forehead gradually disappeared. However, Ji-Zun's mind could already be connected with Yu Yang at any time. Under the soul contract, the two of them didn't need to speak, and their minds could be like one person. Ji-Zun gently bit her finger and dripped a drop of blood on the top of the little six-winged blood angel's head. With another flick of her finger from the wound on Yu Yang's palm that was about to close, she drew a drop of blood and also dripped it on the top of the six-winged blood angel's head. A blood hexagram also flashed on the forehead of the six-winged blood angel, but it wasn't a soul contract, but another kind of mysterious upgrade array. It turned out that the little six-winged blood angel, under the urging of the two's divine blood, screamed, and her body returned to its original form. Her 6 wings stretched out, and her energy burst out. When it was raised to the limit, a fourth pair of more beautiful blood wings grew on her back. Ji-Zun raised her jade hand slightly, and the 8-winged blood angel immediately transformed into a sword of life, which she held in the air. With a light stroke, the sky miraculously let Ji-Zun draw a crack. It couldn't close for a long time. Yu Yang, who was watching from the ground, was dumbstruck. This was the real spatial rend. If any unlucky guy was hit by such a sword, no matter how powerful he was, it would be hard for him not to die. Ji-Zun's performance, after awakening to the divine realm, was not over yet. According to the eternal wheel that Yu Yang comprehended, she turned the original broken void hexagram into an eternal hexagram, a hexagram that could exist forever and continuously break the void. Fortunately, without the blessing of the ancient runes like Yu Yang's eternal wheel, her eternal hexagram did not have the growth of the eternal wheel, nor did it have the ancient power of the eternal wheel. It could barely be regarded as the embodiment of Ji-Zun's personal divine power. Before Ji-Zun's strength reached the true divine realm, she had yet to possess true divine power, so the eternal hexagram could not exert true divine power. Blackie. It turned out that Ji-Zun did not call the tiny black hole after breaking the void as Blackie, but after the soul contract with Yu Yang, she followed his name. She changed this destructive means of attack to Blackie. She stretched out her hand and condensed 6 Blackie at the same time, which was 3 times more than the previous maximum of 2. Yu Yang felt that she had not reached her limit yet. It was just a conservative attempt, and she was still honing her control skills. This kind of super Blackie was more destructive than before. Yu Yang felt his scalp tingle when he saw it. In terms of destructive power, only the world exterminating wheel could slightly surpass it. With a thought from Yu Yang, the world exterminating wheel was born. Together with the super Blackie in Ji-Zun's hand, the 2 destructive powers reflected each other, as if they were going to destroy the whole world. Night Empress, who came from afar, was also frightened when she saw this scene. She was afraid that the two of them would fight uncontrollably. Yu Yang and Ji Zun did not do what she was worried about. They just withdrew their destructive finishing moves, and at the same time realized the power of their finishing moves after reaching the new realm. After the soul contract, the two of them could not only realize different things on their own, but they could also share and complement each other at the same time. Their understanding was many times stronger than before. Destruction Trio. Ji Zun was about to release the light of destruction when she suddenly found that Night Empress had sent out a comet from afar, representing her advice. Ji Zun immediately realized that this was not a good place for experiments. Yu Bing, and the others all came after hearing the news. If they were hit by the energy of the light of destruction by mistake, they would be annihilated directly. In an instant, Ji Zun put away the idea of releasing it, floated down from the sky, and landed in front of Yu Yang. She looked at Yu Yang and did not speak for a long time. Yu Yang made her feel a little creepy. Was he going to settle the score now? Why did he touch it just now? Now it seemed that the difficulty of conquering it had increased a lot. When Yu Yang thought about it this way, he really had a headache. I won't say any more nonsense. After the soul contract, you know me, and I know you. Besides, who doesn't know who you are here? Ji Zun approached Yu Yang, her eyes staring into his eyes, her nose sticking to his nose, her fragrant lips and Yu Yang's lips were only a touch apart, and their breaths could meet each other. Even if his lips could kiss her, Yu Yang still did not dare to act rashly. He did not know if Ji Zun would be angry in the next second, or if she would forgive him. These two results could happen. Ji Zun stared at Yu Yang for a long time before she gently exhaled from her lips and said something that made Yu Yang almost unable to believe his ears. I will give you a chance. I will wait for you at the 1,000,000 steps, as long as you can climb to the 1,000,000 steps. Yu Yang was suddenly knocked down by happiness, and a huge surprise filled his whole chest. Don't let me wait too long. Ji Zun turned around and floated away without looking back. She passed by the Night Empress. There were no words, but the Night Empress seemed to understand Ji Zun's thoughts. Not only did she chuckle, but the beautiful figure bathed in the starry sky domain also bowed slightly and bid farewell to Ji Zun. Until the Night Empress' faint fragrance came, Yu Yang had not come back to his senses. The Night Empress looked at his dazed appearance and laughed. How is it? She has set such a goal for you. Do you feel that there is hope in the future? Yu Yang woke up from his dream and quickly came back to his senses. He scratched the back of his head. 1,000,000 steps, it is not easy to reach. I also know that this promise is an encouragement from her to me. The Night Empress' heavenly laughter sounded. It is not just encouragement. She sincerely hopes that you can surpass her. Actually, I understand her very well. Little guy, do you want me to give you a little encouragement? I don't need such a high difficulty as 1,000,000 steps. Just 500,000 steps will do. Sweat. Yu Yang knew that the Night Empress was teasing him and couldn't help but sweat. It's a pity that I can't be like her. Otherwise, I will also sign a soul contract with you. The Night Empress laughed and suddenly said, why did she take the initiative to sign a soul contract with you? In fact, she hopes to bear the threat of death with you, let you understand the responsibility on your shoulders, and also give you the greatest support. Every time there is a soul contract with you as the master, your future growth will be faster and higher. I don't think I need to say more about everyone's expectations of you. So, no matter what happens, no matter what difficulties you encounter, you must always remember that you will never be alone. You will always have our support. Chapter 821. For the next half a month, Yu Yang lived a happy life like an immortal. Although Princess Sisai and Shui Wuxia had been busy cultivating recently and had no time to pay attention to Yu Yang, Fallen Flowers and Impatience, who had not been together some time ago, stayed by his side and formed a beautiful girl team to fight against him, the great Demon King. This made Yu Yang so happy that he forgot about home for the past half a month. Among them, City Lord Fallen Flowers was the most hardworking. She missed him, and, on the other hand, she had not been able to find time to fuse with the Aurora. Now, with the convenience of breaking through to a new realm and the help of Yu Yang's innate qi, she finally fused the fast finger light tooth, spiral Aurora, and the light dragon spirit that Yu Yang had obtained from the Southern Heaven Realm's Emerald Lord's daughter, Bai Lu, making it transform into the 9-turned dragon head death Aurora. In the past, the Aurora was at most 3 spirals, but now it was 9 spirals. In addition, there was the guidance of the dragon spirit. Even if it was not a divine weapon, the power of the current death Aurora was not inferior to that of a top-grade sacred weapon. In addition, City Lord Fallen Flowers' Snow Fox Girl had been promoted to a quasi-divine beast. Now that her strength had improved greatly, the changes in Fallen Flowers made Yu Yang look at her in a new light. It was also because of this fusion that Yu Yang remembered that he still owed Bai Lu a favor. At that time, he had agreed to help Bai Lu reclaim a few border cities and fight for the Emerald Territory together. Although the plan had changed due to the changes in various aspects, Yu Yang felt that it would be a little unreasonable to not help the other party do something after receiving the Light Dragon Spirit. The cultivation was endless. If he challenged the 10 trials again, he did not know when he would be able to complete it. Therefore, Yu Yang decided to take some time to go to the Southern Heaven Realm to talk to Bai Lu. Even if Bai Lu had no plans to seize the Emerald Territory, he would still help her do something else. Go back to the Southern Heaven Realm? Captain Raging Flame seemed to have something on her mind recently. When Yu Yang mentioned the Southern Heaven Realm, she was silent. If it was in the past, she who loved to fight would definitely take the initiative to go back with him and help him kill everyone. You can stay, go back and have a look, it's up to you. Yu Yang saw that she did not follow, which was better. We'll talk about this when the time comes. Anyway, there's still a few days. Leader Raging Flames shook her head and strode out, once again sprinting towards the heaven stairway. What happened to her? Yu Yang asked curiously. I don't know. Everyone shook their heads and smiled. Everyone had their own little secrets, and Raging Flames was no exception. Before going to the Southern Heaven Realm, Yu Yang naturally had to deal with all the previous matters first. It wasn't easy being a boss. First, he went to the 5th floor of Heaven's Stairway to take a look. He found that Red Crane and Red Peak had been beaten by God's Retribution and the others. Red Crane and Chi Feng relied on their recovery ability and strength to fight against many. However, this battle did not only last for a day, but had lasted for a month and a half. If Yu Yang had not come, they would have continued fighting. In this long war of attrition, Sky Execution and the others, who had the advantage of numbers, had the last laugh. They used the advantage of numbers to firmly suppress Red Crane and Chi Feng, not letting them recover. Now, not to mention the people of the Demonic Palace and the Demon Abyss, there were also the subordinates of the Emperor of the Underworld and the Dragon Emperor, the experts of the various clans of Tong Tian Tower, the Innate Alliance, and even the 4 great clans of the Soaring Dragon Continent. The Thousand Bones Withered Wind, the Eagle-Eyed Man, Xiahou Weijia, and other human warriors who had just advanced to the innate realm. Even though their strengths were simply insignificant like ants to Crimson Crane and Crimson Peak, their numbers were sufficient to affect the situation of the battle. Whenever Red Crane and Chi Feng fought with Sky Execution and the others until they were exhausted and in urgent need of recovery, they would join forces to attack. Under the leadership of the Old Fox and the Heavenly Guardians, Red Crane and Chi Feng were almost completely destroyed. However, Sky Execution and the others did not want to lose the 2 best practice targets, so they kept the 2 elders of the temple who could not live or die. When Yu Yang appeared, Yu Su, who was in charge of supporting the human warriors, and Yong Hui, who was watching from the sidelines, were shocked. Yu Su hurriedly flew over and declared to Yu Yang, I have already reached an agreement with them and accepted their employment. The same goes for Yong Hui. Because of the deprivation of the war beast, guild leader Yong Hui's strength was greatly reduced. He looked at Yu Yang nervously. He was afraid that he would not recognize the agreement. He knew that the real decision-maker in Tong Tian Tower was not Sky Execution and the others, but this Yu clan's 3rd young master. You guys continue. I will find a few practice targets in a few days. Yang suddenly felt that the challenge of nearly 1,000 people besieging 2 people seemed a little too easy. Don't be meddlesome. Just these 2 elders are enough to torment us. Great Demon King Baruth roared madly. I hope it's not the palace master this time. The Dragon Emperor was powerless to protest. Chi Feng and Red Crane originally felt a little confident. After all, as long as they didn't die, there was still hope. As long as there was a chance to recover to Heaven Stage Level 5, then there was hope to kill these ants and return to Heaven Realm. Except for that Sky Execution who was slightly difficult to deal with, they didn't think that the others were a big threat. Now that he saw that Yu Yang had come again, his heart immediately sank. What made them most desperate was that this kid actually had a new breakthrough after not seeing him for more than a month. If they still felt that they could suppress him before. But now, they were suddenly shocked to find that whether it was the other party's realm or strength, they had to look up to him. What kind of fortuitous encounter could make this kid improve so much? At this rate of improvement, it was really a matter of time before the Heaven Realm could capture a Palace Master. I'm not fighting anymore. I'm not fighting anymore. Red Crane felt that there was no hope to continue fighting, so he might as well surrender like Yu Su or Yonghui. Even if he despised the other party before, his life was more important now. This was not Heaven Realm. This was Tong Tian Tower. This was Heaven's Stairway. This was Yu Yang's territory. If they continued to fight, there would be no results. If they accidentally killed a relative or friend of Yu Yang, this kid would go crazy and they would be finished. The Palace Elder had no choice but to do small things, but to lose their lives was a big deal. When did it become your turn to speak? Continue fighting. Sky Execution sneered. The new rules of Tong Tian Tower had already been changed by Yu Yang. For the enemy, even if they surrendered, they had to be beaten until they were obedient. Yu Su and Yonghui were examples. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Besides, where else could he find such a good practice target? Previously, Great Demon King Baruth, who was almost killed by Red Crane several times, was now angry. You're not allowed to surrender. Sky Execution has leveled up. Dragon Emperor and Emperor of the Underworld have also broken through. I haven't yet. Continue to fight. You're not allowed to surrender. Red Crane and Chi Feng fainted. What kind of people were born in Tong Tian Tower? How could they not surrender? Everyone in the Heaven Realm said that the Central Shrine was arrogant, but compared with these barbarians in Tong Tian Tower, the people of the Central Shrine were simply modest gentlemen. Yu Yang found that Sky Execution and the others had made rapid progress under the pressure of death. He was secretly pleased. His own method was more effective. Otherwise, if they had to rely on themselves to practice, who knows how long it would take for them to practice. He used the 3-realm compass and returned to the trial ground, only to find that the Heaven Realm warriors of Shui Yuan, Ba Huang, and Zhanggu had all died tragically outside the trial ground. Those human heads were like a ball chain, hung with ropes one by one, and hung densely. Even the few leaders who had withdrawn could not escape and died tragically. The ability of the Central Shrine was indeed not simple. As soon as they set out, the 3 great teams of the Western Heaven Realm gathered were destroyed, except for King Ling Yun and the other 5. The rest were all annihilated. What? King Ling Yun, who was hiding in the ruins of the Earth Demon Temple, was shocked when he heard the news brought by Yu Yang. The Central Shrine's death warriors, Iron Wrist, and the others gnashed their teeth in hatred. Those Heaven Realm warriors who had left were all their friends, even their children's relatives. I'm going to take Yi Kong and the others to Conqueror City to gain experience. You guys come with us. In the Conqueror City, there is the will left behind by Empress Fei Wen Li and the remaining veteran soldiers to defend it. The Central Divine Palace will not risk their lives to attack that place for the time being. That place is now the safest place in the entire Western Heaven Realm. Yu Yang couldn't comfort them and could only give them an idea. Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, Shuetan Lang, and the others had already destroyed the evil tree face that could not move but was Heaven Stage Level 5. It took them more than a month. Although they were so tired that they could not move for a few days, everyone had greatly improved. Especially the main force, Shuetan Lang. who had risen by 2 ranks. His strength was close to Heaven Stage. Of course, there was still a huge gap between Heaven Stage and Innate Elder. Not to mention them, even Shui Wuxia and Princess Sisai had not reached that level yet. Even if they were Heaven Stage level 5, in front of Innate Elder, they were nothing more than trash. Shui Lang and the others still had a long time to cultivate. This could not be rushed, and they were still young, so there was no need to rush. Yu Yang felt that it was about time to throw them into the Conqueror City and let the old soldiers train them a little. Most importantly, it was safe there, and they had the experience of the old soldiers who had bathed in blood on the battlefield. It would be of great help to them on their path to becoming an innate elder. Shui Lang and the others had no objections. They also politely declined the Heaven Stage war beasts that King Ling Yun gave them. They did not want to rely too much on war beasts. Although it was very important, personal improvement was the most important way for them to grow now. Without the tears of the mermaid, he could not fulfill Grandma Sha's wish. Yu Yang did not go to see Grandma Sha. He directly threw Fatty Hai and the others to Conqueror City and returned to Tong Tian Tower. Fatty Hai's wind breath seabird had already reached the level of a quasi-holy beast and was on the verge of breaking through to become a holy beast. Yu Yang could see it, but he didn't say it out loud. He was secretly keeping an eye out for Fatty Hai to see if there were any suitable treasures that could help it level up. If the wind breath seabird became a holy beast, the lecherous Fatty Hai would definitely explode. Tong Tian Tower, Soaring Dragon Continent, Tian Luo Palace. Yu Yang's sudden return surprised Fourth Mother. Shuang, that little girl, flew into her brother's arms with a sob. San'er, aren't you cultivating in the Heaven Stairway? How come you have time to come back? Fourth Mother still did not know that Yu Yang was under the Heaven Stairway World Tree with Ji Zun, Night Empress, and the others. However, she could see the changes in Yu Yang. When she saw it, she covered her mouth in surprise. It's been a long time since you've been a little different. It seems like there's a kind of divine deity initial condensation. Have you had any fortuitous encounters recently? It's like this. Yu Yang told her everything that had happened, but he didn't mention what Ji Zun said about waiting for him at the 1,000,000 steps. He wasn't surprised at all that Fourth Mother knew what was called the initial stage of Godhead. He also didn't ask how she knew. He knew that she must have many secrets, but she did not say them. Good, very good. With everyone's help, I am much more relieved. Fourth Mother felt very comforted. The San'er in front of her had finally grown up. I came back this time mainly to ask you about the Divine Grimoire. When Yu Yang said this, Fourth Mother immediately waved her hand in a panic. I don't understand the Divine Grimoire. Who asked you to find me? You don't know? Yu Yang felt that Fourth Mother must know, but she didn't say anything because she wanted to keep a secret. The Night Empress would not lie about this. How could I know about the Divine Grimoire? It's a supreme existence. Fourth Mother obviously did not want to discuss this topic too much. Seeing that Yu Yang was playing with Shuang Air, she happily went to the kitchen and personally made a feast for Yu Yang. When Yu Yang was eating happily, she suddenly bit her red lips and seemed to have made a decision. San'er, about the Divine Grimoire that His Majesty and the Night Empress talked about. You should go take a look first. If you really can't do it, then think of other ways. Yu Yang knew that she would not easily accompany him to the Divine Grimoire, so he did not force her. He nodded. He continued to eat heartily, competing with Shuang Air, whose hands were full of oil, one chicken leg in each hand, to see who could eat faster. Fourth Mother definitely had her difficulties. Yu Yang did not know what it was, but he knew that it must be difficult for her. Because of this, he did not want to force her. The Divine Grimoire was important, but Fourth Mother was more important. Besides, the Divine Grimoire had a spirit. If it recognized a master, it would not be affected by the outside world. Yu Yang was suddenly shocked. Fourth Mother was not willing to accompany him to the Divine Grimoire. Was she worried that the Divine Grimoire would recognize her as its master? This thought flashed in Yu Yang's heart for a long time and could not be dispelled. Although sometimes it seemed impossible, he could not deny this possibility. Fourth Mother, how many more secrets did she have? The more Yu Yang thought, the more puzzled he felt. Chapter 822. Yu Yang took some time to go to the Warriors Guild in the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower and issued a quest. A reward of 100,000 for mermaid's tears. Since returning from the Heaven Realm, Yu Yang had asked all the clans, but there was no news of mermaid's tears. He had also asked Hai Ingwu's Sea Clan, Dark Continent's Netherworld Clan, Easter Goblin Tribe, and Golden Elves, but mermaid's tears only existed in legends. No one had it. Because of this, Hai Ingwu specially went back to discuss with Countess Jia Wei and Countess Yan. She rummaged through the Sea Clan's treasures, but found nothing. The Southern Goblin King, who had the most treasures in her hands, also went back to search for her little treasure vault. Even Xiaoyi went back to her hometown, the Gufeng continent, to ask Queen Shigu about it, but there was still no progress. There was definitely mermaid's tears, but no one knew who had it. Regarding its legend, there were many historical records in Tong Tian Tower, and Yu Yang had also seen many of them. This mermaid's tears was actually not a mermaid's tears. Otherwise, the store mermaid's tears would have been enough. It was a very special kind of pearl. Because it was extremely precious and beautiful, ordinary people could not resist its charm when they saw it. There was a legend that even mermaids could not help but shed tears of joy when they saw it. Hence, it was named Mermaid's Tears. If one wore mermaid's tears, aquatic creatures could go ashore and breathe freely. Similarly, terrestrial creatures could also breathe underwater if they wore it. In battle, warriors or beasts who wore mermaid's tears could increase their battle power to the maximum. Hence, mermaid's tears was a very rare support-type treasure. A few thousand years ago, mermaid's tears were quite common. In the entire Tong Tian Tower, there were probably no less than 100 of them. Usually, it was worn by the emperors of various clans or female supreminates. However, after the war 6,000 years ago, mermaid's tears gradually disappeared in the long river of history. Maybe there was more, but with Yu Yang's ability, he was actually unable to find it. After asking all of his acquaintances, Yu Yang had no choice but to run to the 6th floor of Tong Tian Tower and issue a mermaid's tears quest. Regardless of how much the mermaid's tears were worth, Yu Yang set the price at 100,000 gold coins. He hoped that those in the know would be tempted and leak some information to him. Son-in-law, are you looking for the tears of the mermaid? East Sky King suddenly ran over to look for Yu Yang. You have one? Yu Yang was overjoyed. I don't. That thing is for women to wear. How could a man like me want that kind of thing? East Sky King denied. The problem is that I need this treasure that women like to complete my mission. Yu Yang saw that East Sky King didn't have one, so he was going to find an excuse to send him away so that he wouldn't be dragged to drink. Now, Yu Yang wasn't in the mood to drink. On one hand, he was thinking about the grimoire. On the other hand, he was accumulating energy to prepare to meet Queen Vivian Li. Now, he was also worried about the mermaid's tears and had no time to care about East Sky King. Keeping a straight face all day won't solve the problem. East Sky King found that Yu Yang wasn't in a good mood, so he didn't drag him to drink. However, before he left, he leaned close to Yu Yang's ear and secretly said, "You can ask His Majesty, but you can't say that I'm the one who leaked the secret." Of course, Yu Yang was happy. He patted his chest and gave East Sky King a guarantee. Actually, if Yu Yang was really going to be criticized by Tian Luo Emperor Huashu because of this, it would be strange if he didn't expose it. As the saying goes, it's better for you to die than for me. Moreover, it wasn't the first time that East Sky King was punished for doing something wrong. Anyway, he was thick-skinned and didn't care at all. The thickness of East Sky King's skin was so thick that even the poor mercenaries in the taverns in the Soaring Dragon continent knew about it. East Sky King patted Yu Yang's shoulder and took the martial arts pill that Yu Yang secretly handed to him. If he could get the martial arts pill by leaking the secret, why not? Good son-in-law, I'm leaving now. If you have anything you want to find, don't issue a mission. It's too troublesome. Just find me. Who am I? I was the secret digger that resounded throughout the entire Tong Tian Tower. East Sky King felt that he was completely competent for this private detective job. Yu Yang was embarrassed. Fortunately, this guy's daughter didn't look like him at all. Speaking of which, if the Tian Luo Emperor Hua Su Ri was really a man, how could he have the tears of the mermaid? Even if he had the tears of the mermaid, how could he have such a secret that no one knew? Even the Eastern Sky King and the others didn't mention it? Yu Yang felt that this curiosity could kill a cat. Last time, there was the dream jadeite. This time, there was the tears of the mermaid. How many more unknown treasures were there in the Tian Luo treasury? Once East Sky King left, Yu Yang immediately went to see the Tian Luo Emperor Hua Su Ri. The reason was the same as last time. His Majesty was slightly ill and couldn't see anyone. That female official carefully asked Yu Yang's intentions and said that she would pass it on to His Majesty. As for the outcome of the matter, it would be up to His Majesty to decide. This time, it was different from the last time. Last time, it was Drunken Cat who brought him the dream jadeite. This time, he was actually summoned. Although they were separated by a door, Yu Yang was at least 10 meters away from His Majesty this time. It was still the kind of dignified aura of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. Even though Yu Yang already had Ji Zun's will, he could still feel it clearly. As a junior, His Majesty had always taken care of Fourth Mother, Shuang-Er, and the others. In addition, he was the senior of Fallen Flowers and the other girls. Yu Yang naturally greeted him obediently and pretended to be a good boy. Tian Luo Emperor Hua Su Ri's voice sounded very angry. Who told you? Yu Yang didn't even hesitate for a second and sold out his father-in-law. Your Majesty, it was the Eastern Sky King. That fellow must be itching for a beating. If he's not leading a befuddled life, then he's talking nonsense to the younger generation. Tian Luo Emperor Hua Su Ri was very angry and scolded loudly. His attitude was so strict that even Yu Yang was shocked. He guessed that the Eastern Sky King probably didn't have a good time these few days. However, after the Eastern Sky King revealed the secret, he must have known the consequences. Maybe he had already escaped and wouldn't come back until His Majesty's anger was appeased. Anyway, it wasn't the first time that the Eastern Sky King went to Jun Wu Yu's place to eat and drink. He's very wrong. I also criticized him just now. Yu Yang tried hard to show that he was a good boy. Don't you dare. It was a pity that His Majesty could see through him with one look. Yes, I'm also very wrong. Yu Yang's skin was not inferior to the Eastern Sky King's. The mermaid's tear is not a rare item. It's fine to give it to you. It's just that your sneaky little actions really made me angry. Although Tian Luo Emperor Hua Su Ri said this, it seemed that he really felt sorry for the mermaid's tear. Before he gave away the treasure in his heart, he scolded Yu Yang. After a pause, he said, because of some reasons, I might need you to do something in the future. Brat, I'm on call. Yu Yang patted his chest, indicating that he would be available 24 hours a day. Don't smile mischievously. That is a very serious matter. In the future, I forbid you to be disrespectful in front of me. His Majesty seemed to be very angry with Yu Yang's current attitude, especially with his smile. Yes, what does His Majesty want me to do? Yu Yang guessed maliciously. Could it be that there was no one in the imperial harem and her heart was lonely, so she needed him to warm her bed? Of course, he only dared to think this kind of fantasy in his heart. He absolutely did not dare to show it on his face, otherwise His Majesty might tear him apart. No matter what, His Majesty's dignity still had to be maintained. Let's talk about it in the future. You are forbidden from mentioning it to anyone. This matter has not been decided yet, and it is an extremely troublesome matter. Forget it, you go back first. I'll get someone to bring you the mermaid's tear later. His Majesty warned Yu Yang before he left. Don't let your imagination run wild, and don't let a third person know about today's conversation. If Wu Xia and the others know about it, I will cut off your tongue. Don't worry, this brat has always been a tight-lipped person. Usually, I don't talk in my sleep. Even if I did, it will have nothing to do with beauties. Today's secret conversation is guaranteed to be absolutely safe. Yu Yang was prepared to give himself the nickname of the most tight-lipped person in Tongtian Tower. Who doesn't know you? Scram! His Majesty scolded him unhappily. Yu Yang smiled and left. Although he was separated by the palace door, he did not see His Majesty's true appearance, nor did he smell any special fragrance. However, after leveling up to the Elder Innate realm and peeking into the Holy Elder realm, his perception was completely different from before. What he needed to see in the past, now he could feel it even more clearly than seeing. Although his current divine vision had not been upgraded to the highest realm, it was already very close to the highest realm of divine vision. His Majesty's appearance could not be seen clearly through the palace door, but Yu Yang at least saw a little. Of course, the smart Yu Yang pretended not to see it. It was very important to maintain His Majesty's dignity. Not the Night Empress. Yu Yang came to a conclusion. He had always suspected, but now he finally denied his guess. The Night Empress was the Night Empress, and His Majesty was His Majesty, although there were some similarities in some aspects. In the evening, the maid really sent a brocade box. When he opened it, it was filled with colorful mermaids' tears. Yu Yang's nose twitched slightly, as if he could still smell the lingering fragrance of the treasure in the air. After thanking the maid, Yu Yang rushed to the trial ground of the Western Heaven Realm. He sneaked through the encirclement of the central shrine and re-entered the trial ground. He went to the third stage, Sand Valley, to find Granny Sha and fulfill her wish. Wearing the mermaid's tears, Granny Sha's body flashed with brilliance. Although she couldn't draw out the pool water, it was not a problem to condense water to wash her face, hands, and feet. This was just the beginning. With Granny Sha's proficiency in using and borrowing the energy of the mermaid's tears, it was estimated that her wish to bathe would be realized soon. Granny Sha cried tears of joy. Although she didn't give Yu Yang a reward, she tried hard to recall and pointed out the location of an ancient rune to Yu Yang. If no one destroyed it, it should still be there. The ancient rune will not disappear with the passage of time. It exists for a long time that we can't imagine. By the way, I also remember one thing. In the battle between beautiful Silk Fairy and Supreme Lihua, both of them died in the Burial Sword Valley. After that, there was no news of them. They should have perished together. You go and look for them. Maybe you can find something about them. I'm sorry, little Yu Yang, because it's too long ago and I'm too happy today, I can't remember more about the past. Maybe you can come back later and I'll see if there are any useful memories for you. Thank you, Granny Sha Luo. The news of the ancient rune is already the greatest guidance. I'm very grateful. Yu Yang's words were sincere. The value of the ancient rune was indeed something that no treasure could measure. Especially for the current Yu Yang, what he needed most was to integrate more ancient runes. Chapter 823. Yu Yang returned to the soaring dragon continent and rushed to the place that Granny Sha had pointed out. The world had changed. Tens of thousands of years had passed. The place where the ancient runes were stored was completely different from what Granny Sha remembered. There was originally a valley filled with birds and flowers. Now, not only was the valley buried in the dust of history, there was also a 2,000-meter-tall mountain. After careful observation, Yu Yang came to a conclusion. The location of the ancient runes was at least 1,000 meters under the soil. If they did not make a passage, it would be useless no matter how strong Yu Yang's senses were. He went back to Xia to find Jun Wuyu and asked him for help. This is a small matter. Our soaring dragon continent lacks everything but manpower. Jun Wuyu was overjoyed. He waved his hand to signal Yu Yang not to worry. Even if you don't want to mobilize a large force, I know a few old guys. Their strength is not high, but they all have special skills. For example, one of them is a mountain drilling earthworm. It won't be a problem for him to make a passage that is a few thousand meters deep. At most, it would take a little more time. According to the speed he used to dig tunnels for our palace, he would be done in a month. That's great. If it only takes a month, then I will be able to fuse with it before going to the trial grounds. Yu Yang knew that Jun Wuyu had a way. How is Qian Qian? Jun Wuyu pretended to ask casually. She has improved a lot recently. She has already broken through her limit and is preparing to fuse with the prison Emperor Excalibur. She has been concentrating on her cultivation recently, and I have been rejected. Yu Yang quickly stood on the same side as his father-in-law. He did not want this old man to feel jealous and think that a grown-up girl could not be kept at home. Good. Junwoo felt much better when he heard this. He also knew that the prison emperor Excalibur originally recognized Yu Yang. It was just that because of the prison emperor's bloodline, it was changed to his daughter. If his daughter could remove the prison emperor's remaining protective consciousness and completely take over and fuse with the prison emperor Excalibur, it would undoubtedly be an immeasurable cultivation achievement. In such a short period of time, this little girl had achieved such strength and realm. It would be strange if Junwoo didn't feel proud of her. Among the younger generation of Tong Tian Tower, Yu Yang was too abnormal. Other than that child Shui Wuxia, who else could be mentioned in the same breath as his precious daughter? When he left the palace of the great Xia dynasty, someone appeared. Yu Yang smiled. This guy was the East Heaven King who had fled to the great Xia dynasty palace to seek refuge. East Sky King first looked around and found that there was no one around. He grabbed Yu Yang's collar and said, "Good boy, you dare to expose your father-in-law. Do you not want to live anymore?" Yu Yang's face was full of helplessness. It's not like you don't know what kind of person His Majesty is. If I didn't say it at that time, I might not have been able to keep my skin. Besides, His Majesty isn't really angry. You can go back and apologize in a few days. His Majesty will definitely forgive you. When East Sky King heard this, his big head was like a rattle drum. I'm not going back. I won't go back without half a year's time. After saying that, he patted Yu Yang's shoulder again. I know you definitely couldn't endure it. That's why you said it. I can't blame you. No one can withstand that kind of thunderous rage. All right, why didn't you bring little fallen flowers along when you go out recently? Cultivation is important, but it's not good for a couple to be apart more than they are together. It will affect the relationship between husband and wife. If you don't have anything important to do and can't be distracted, just bring her along. Besides, with her skills, she won't cause any trouble. She will definitely be able to help you a little. You guys have to work hard. It's best if you can give me a white and chubby little grandson next year. That fellow Junwoo, you will die of jealousy. After saying so much, he still wanted to suppress Junwoo. Yu Yang couldn't help but secretly laugh. Of course, East Sky King's desire to protect his children was no less than Junwoo's. In fact, he was even more protective than Junwoo. Previously, when he saw Junwoo and Yu Yang meeting, he was afraid that Yu Yang would spend more time with Princess Sisai and neglect his precious baby. Hence, he rushed out to give Yu Yang a warning. After replying one by one, Yu Yang didn't just give a perfunctory reply. He really went back to the Stairway World Tree and brought out City Mistress Fallen Flowers. City Mistress Fallen Flowers was very surprised, but she rejected it on the surface. Treasure hunt? But I still have to cultivate. Otherwise, I'll fall behind. You'd better find a Nan and Bing Air to go with you. Yu Yang hugged this fragrant beauty in embroidered clothes and kissed her red lips. I've been performing well recently. Don't you think I deserve a reward? Seeing that Yu was not far away, Fallen Flowers quickly avoided his kiss. Blushing, she used her hands to stop him from kissing her. No matter how boldly she served this bad guy at night, she still couldn't bring herself to do it in the day in front of others. It was only until she waved goodbye to Yu, Sickly Beauty, and the rest, and left the Stairway World Tree that she regained her lively personality. She jumped onto Yu Yang's back and wrapped her arms around his neck intimately. First, she rewarded him with a sweet kiss. Then, she breathed into his ear. That's not right. Why are you suddenly so nice to me? Did you do something wrong? Tell me the truth. I'll be lenient if I confess. Yu Yang held her little, but with both hands, and lifted it up a little, trying to make her lie down more comfortably. While taking advantage of the beauty, he replied with a smile, "Beautiful and suspicious city mistress, if this goes on, I, the guard captain, will have to resign." "You can't resign. You must die to atone for your sins." City Mistress Fallen Flowers was amused by him. In the world of the two of them, she had completely returned to her original self. She was not restrained at all as she laughed boldly and freely. Her shoulders shook, looking exceptionally happy. "Can you die of exhaustion? I, the guard captain, am willing to do my best." Yu Yang's wolfish claws did not stop her lover's actions. Scoundrel, you only know how to bully me all day. Luo Hua's city mistress didn't stop her lover's actions. She only closed her starry eyes in a slightly intoxicated manner. Her delicate nose lightly panted, and when Yu Yang turned his face, she offered her sweet lips to him, kissing him under the setting sun. The sunlight elongated their shadows as they kissed for a long time. Buried Sword Valley was not a valley. The original location was a city built at the foot of the Iron Ridge mountain range in the soaring Dragon Continent. Due to the prosperity of forging divine weapons in the past, it was named Berry Sword Valley, or Berry Sword Villa. The first ruler was Berry Sword Master, who had created an extremely glorious history. In ancient times, Berry Sword Valley was even bigger than Shangjing. However, it had already become an abandoned area in history. Yu Yang learned a little bit of the truth from the incomplete historical records and Granny Shah's narration. After more than 180 generations, the Burial Sword Valley's forces split up. They fought against each other and fought for hundreds of years. In the end, beautiful Silk Fairy's husband died in battle. Buried Sword Valley expelled the traitors led by Lord Lai Hua at the cost of a Pyrrhic victory. However, when true Lord Lai Hua regained his strength, he immediately broke his vow and threw the vow he had made not to become enemies with the Sword Burial Valley when he was defeated to the back of his mind. True Lord Lai Hua used the excuse that women should not be in charge of the Sword Burial Valley, and even used his status as the pure-blooded descendant of true Lord Lai Hua to lead many experts to attack the Sword Burial Valley. In the end, the battle between beautiful Silk Fairy and Flame Lord Lai Hua triggered a heavenly tribulation. The entire Buried Sword Villa was destroyed. Both of them died at the same time and were never heard from again. Iron Ridge Mountain became a land of destruction. No one dared to go near it. Thousands of years passed. When the forest grew again and the demonic beasts grew again, Buried Sword Valley no longer existed in the world. The demonic beasts here are different. Although they're not strong, they are strange. They seem to be affected by some kind of power. Also, the plants are the same. I saw dozens of flowers on the road, but none of them are normal. City Mistress Fallen Flowers and Yu Yang searched the Iron Ridge Mountain for a long time. She was very careful and found many suspicious places. They must be affected by the heavenly tribulation. Maybe Buried Sword Valley itself has some kind of secret power. Yu Yang also found the same thing. The demonic beasts here were not strong, but they were very different from the outside world. Their vitality was also much stronger than other demonic beasts of the same level. Is it possible to use this kind of power? City Mistress Fallen Flowers was thinking about this. If it's possible, then the beasts of warriors below the innate realm will be greatly improved. As for those above the innate realm, it's hard to say. Yu Yang felt that he was about to grasp an inspiration, but he was always missing something. Maybe we can use the plants here to feed vegetarian beasts. City Mistress Fallen Flowers suggested a possibility. That probably won't work. Yu Yang rejected it. Why don't we find someone to dig here again? I keep feeling that this place is similar to Aquamarine's Meteor Shower Sea, but the power of the influence is different. Luo Hua's unintentional words had instantly enlightened Yu Yang, who had been thinking hard about the answer, giving him a feeling of sudden enlightenment. That's right, this place was very similar to the Meteor Shower Sea. The only difference was that there was no strong negative influence here. In other words, some kind of energy in Buried Sword Valley was still working and did not let the heavenly tribulation's power destroy everything. What was destroyed was only the surface. As expected of City Mistress, you're smart. Yu Yang flattered the beauty. Fallen Flowers proudly raised her chin. Seeing the beauty pouting coquettishly, it was really alluring. A certain guy from another world couldn't help but hug the beauty, tilt her delicate body, bend down, and give her a long, suffocating kiss. Yu Yang didn't want to tell anyone the secret of Buried Sword Valley for the time being. Maybe they could dig out the Berry Sword Villa underground and find some incredible treasures. Leaving the quintet golden puppet mice to search for information about this place, Yu Yang brought Luo Hua and headed to the southern heaven realm, Nightless City, which they had not seen for a long time. The Western Heaven Realm was about to be in chaos. If the Southern Heaven Realm didn't cause any trouble, the Central Shrine would only need to fight alone. That would be too easy for them. Yu Yang decided to do something in the Southern Heaven Realm no matter what. He couldn't talk about fighting on multiple fronts, but he had to make the Central Shrine fight on 2 fronts. If he didn't make them suffer, he wouldn't be able to live up to his name. Nightless City had the 3 who surrendered, as well as Fei Huang and Hua Ban. The Emerald Lord was also afraid of the power behind him and didn't dare to provoke him, so it was very safe. During this period of time, everything had been calm. There was no tax exemption, and there were no wars. Business was booming to the extreme. Bao Gu and Niu Jin had an incredible status now. Everyone who saw them would call them master. Especially Bao Gu, who was originally a peddler and traveling merchant. He was deeply respected by the people of the city. Even strangers who came from other places admired him endlessly when they heard about what happened that day. Of course, both Bao Gu and Niu Jin knew their limits. When they saw Yu Yang coming, they immediately flew forward and greeted him respectfully. Their positions and attitudes were very proper. They didn't really think that they had become masters. They felt that it was extremely rare to be able to become the 3rd young master subordinates. One had to know that the 3 who surrendered, Flying Locust and Hua Ban, who possessed the strength of Heaven's stage, didn't even have the qualifications to be servants. I'm very relieved that you guys are doing things. There's no need to report. When young Master Hai has time, you can report to him. Yu Yang gave him a mission, and that was to contact Bai Lu as soon as possible. With Yu Yang's current strength, killing the Emerald Lord was no longer a problem. However, he still had King Tuyi and the Lionheart King behind him. If he could get more information, he might even be able to catch all the enemies in one fell swoop. This way, the Southern Heaven Realm would at least cause some waves. As long as Yu Yang continued to add fuel to the fire and expand the influence of the entire matter, the Central Shrine wouldn't be able to not be distracted. How could a small emerald territory accommodate Yu Yang's ambitions? Chapter 824. 3 days later, there was finally news from Bai Lu. She was not in the Emerald Territory at the moment, but it was said that she had gone to a place called the Tailuan Continent. The secret report said that the local King Tailuan had been arrested by the Scarlet Warden of the Central Shrine, Tantai Tumia, for colluding with the evil forces and was escorted to the platform of God's loathing for execution. King Tailuan's relatives and friends would all be sent to the Central Shrine's everlasting hatred prison to atone for their crimes. It's too unjust. In the Southern Heaven Realm, even a 3-year-old child knows that King Tailuan is a good person. Bao Gu sighed. Is that so? Fallen Flowers was suddenly a little interested in this news. Madam Fallen Flowers, Bao Gu is right. If it were any other king, Niu Jin would not dare to say, but King Tailuan is definitely a good person. Under King Tailuan's rule, the people lived and worked in peace, and there were no bandits. The strong preying on the weak that can be seen everywhere in the Heaven Realm rarely happen there. Even the powerful Tailuan magical beasts that occupy a region have all signed an agreement with King Tailuan, accepting the offerings of King Tailuan and not easily disturbing the people. The Tailuan continent is like a dream in the hearts of many people. Its only weakness is that most of the places are located on plateaus that are tens of thousands of meters above sea level. The gravity there is at least 10 times higher than in other places, and it is not a place that an ordinary person can adapt to. Coupled with the fact that it is rather cold there, who knows how many people would migrate to the Tailuan continent? Niu Jin explained in detail. So, King Tailuan colluded with the evil forces and was arrested by the Central Shrine, and was wronged. Fallen Flowers asked. Definitely wronged. Bao Gu and Niu Jin both nodded with certainty. Then why would the Central Shrine publicly execute such a popular king? Yu Yang felt that things were not that simple. The people of the Central Shrine were not fools. Without evidence, publicly executing King Tailuan was definitely not possible. Without evidence, they could also execute him in secret. Why would they execute him in public and invite the people to watch? Since they were confident in making it public, It meant that they had evidence in their hands, regardless of whether the evidence was true or false. However, there was at least one thing that could be confirmed. The evidence was enough to nail the fact that King Tailuan was colluding with the evil forces. Bao Gu and Niu Jin could not answer Yu Yang's question. They were insignificant people and only had the most basic ability to judge things. It would be too difficult for them to figure out the inside story like those in power. Yu Yang waited for another half a day before he received another piece of intelligence. It was personally collected by Yu Yang's #1 secret agent, Smoke Flea. Smoke Flea had another task. He did not have time to rush back to Nightless City to report, but through their unique underground organization of thieves, he brought back the information that Yu Yang needed. According to Smoke Flea's intelligence, the Tui King Mo Zhangqing and the fake Emerald leader Pang Pei had already headed to the Tailuan continent with his most powerful subordinate, the Imperial Army of 1,000. Most importantly, Smoke Flea had heard that the Clown had already brought the Clown team to the Tailuan continent. Currently, among the few kings or more famous factions in the area, only the Lionheart King was still biding his time. A man's wealth was his own ruin. Yu Yang had a guess about King Tailuan's punishment. Could it be that this King Tailuan had some treasure or discovered some secret that the warden of the central shrine wanted, but he was unwilling to give it to him? Or this secret was something that the central shrine had always wanted, but King Tailuan was unwilling to give it to him for some reason. If the Clown, the Tui King, and the fake Emerald leader had not been so eager to watch King Tailuan's execution, then Yu Yang would not have been so sure. Looking at it now, he felt that there was at least a high chance of it being true. Moreover, Yu Yang also speculated that this might be a treasure that could not be found by a single person. Otherwise, why would the central shrine publicly execute King Tailuan? They would have killed him in secret. Let's go and take a look too. City Mistress Fallen Flowers felt that it did not matter if there was a treasure or not. This was the best opportunity to wreak havoc in the Southern Heaven Realm. If a warden of the central shrine dies, Yu Yang's thoughts were racing. If they could kill the warden, called Tantai Tumia, then the central shrine would definitely be enraged, and the Southern Heaven Realm would definitely be in chaos. Third young master, it will be a little difficult to kill Tantai Tumia. Niu Jin was afraid that Yu Yang would be angry, and explained weakly, even ants like us know how powerful Tantai Tumia is. He, the Scarlet Warden, is a super expert ranked below the 3 Hall Masters in the entire Central Shrine, and is as famous as Hall Master Zhonghua. It is said that he has an immortal body, and, at the same time, he wields the divine weapon God's Blade. King Stage, Heaven Stage rankers can only be killed in an instant in his hands. He has executed King Stage, Heaven Stage rankers more than once or twice in the Southern Heaven Realm, and I have never heard of anyone being able to escape his capture. Even the 2 law enforcers under him, Sky Ghost and Sky Demon, have the strength of Heaven rank level 6. What did you know? Yu Yang asked curiously. Once, Captain Wild Bull snatched a rare treasure and was about to take us to celebrate. Who knew that in the middle of the night, the fake lord of the Emerald Territory, Pang Pei, would quickly drag him out. He ordered Wild Bull to immediately hand over the treasure. It was said that it was the treasure of a relative of the Sky Ghost. When the Sky Ghost found the Lionheart King, the Lionheart King could not refuse. In addition to personally compensating the Sky Ghost with a large amount of property, he also asked Pang Pei to immediately return the treasure that the Wild Bull had snatched. Later on, I heard from the Wild Bull, who still had a lingering fear. Once that time, we lost everything, so I had a deep impression of it and have always kept it in mind. Niu Jin's memory was very good, and he usually paid attention to collecting important information. That's good news. Yu Yang patted Niu Jin's shoulder to show his approval. In fact, Yu Yang did not completely believe this information. If the Sky Ghost and Sky Demon really only had the strength of Heaven Stage level 6, the Lionheart King would never lower his head. Other than the possibility of the Lionheart King hiding his strength, there was another possibility, and that was that the Sky Demon and Sky Ghost were even stronger than the legendary Heaven Stage level 6. As for the warden, Tantai Tumia, there was no need to mention him. He was only ranked below the 3 hall masters and was as famous as Hall Master Zhonghua. With a divine weapon in hand, how awesome was that? Although the heaven realm was huge, how many of them had a divine weapon? Hall Master Guang Zhonghua. Yu Yang suspected that he was the one who drove the Dark World's tens of thousands of corrupted warriors. Other than Ji Wuri, the strongest ranker that Yu Yang had seen in the heaven realm was Zhonghua, who was like a god. If Tantai, Tumia, and Zhonghua's strength were on par, Yu Yang estimated that it would be difficult for him to touch the Scarlet Warden by himself. However, if Yu Yang could not take him down by himself, he could still call for help. Ji Zun and Night Empress could help him if necessary. He could even use his brain to get Ming Yu Guang's attention. At the very least, writing a letter to contact them was not a bad idea. I miss you, my moonlight beauty. I heard that the warden of the Central Shrine has a divine weapon. I am prepared to use it as a betrothal gift. I wonder if Moonlight Beauty is willing to help me fulfill this wish. Talon Continent, I'll be waiting for you. Yu Yang used the heaven runes to write a love letter, specially packed it in an embroidered box, and personally delivered it to the Troop Association before sending it to one of the 3 powerhouses of the Western Heaven Realm, Ming Yu Guang. He had written a few letters before, but this time was different. This time, Yu Yang clearly wanted to cooperate. For such an important token, he believed that the Troop Association would use all their power to deliver the embroidered box as soon as possible. Whether Ming Yu Guang would appear in the Taiwan continent and work together with Yu Yang to kill Tantai Tumia was not the result that Yu Yang wanted the most. Furthermore, Yu Yang had a feeling that it was not possible to kill Tantai Tumia in the Taiwan continent. He had to find a better opportunity to wait for Tantai Tumia to completely let down his guard before he could achieve this. There was no hurry to work together this time, as long as Ming Yu Guang agreed. They could work together at any time. Furthermore, Yu Yang was not sure how much of Ming Yu Guang's power had recovered. How much power could she unleash when she had not recovered her peak? Are you sure that she will agree? Luohua's city mistress felt that this brat's love letter was too short. Let's not talk about whether there was any sincerity in it or not. There were even a few lines written carelessly. No matter what, he should at least write a few pages of mushy words, right? Otherwise, how could he move Ming Yu Guang's heart? She is now isolated and helpless. Who would work together with her? I am providing her with help in her hour of need. Yu Yang expressed that he was a very noble person. I don't think it will work at all. City Mistress Fallen Flowers' words were very direct. She was not afraid of hurting Yu Yang's heart. If I can't do it with one letter, I'll write a few more. Dripping water will wear through a stone. I'll definitely succeed. Yu Yang understood the true meaning of picking up girls. His shameless pestering skills were displayed to the extreme. I guess this will only have the opposite effect. City Mistress Fallen Flowers laughed. If writing a few letters could settle a Heaven Realm great leader, then why did the Prison Emperor have to fight so hard back then? Of course, Yu Yang also had his reasons. How would he know if he did not try? He felt that the biggest difference between him and the Prison Emperor was that he was smarter. All right, he was more shameless. After obtaining information from various sources, Yu Yang and City Mistress Fallen Flowers analyzed the situation. They felt that this was not a trap. In the end, they decided to immediately head to Tailuan Continent and meet up with Bai Lu and Smoke Flea, who was scouting for information on the Tailuan Continent. After determining the situation, they would take the next step. They could not go directly to the Tailuan Continent. The Tailuan Continent had already been taken over by the guards of the Central Shrine. They must have a reason to go there. Otherwise, if they were to investigate, the Nightless City, an outpost of the Tong Tian Tower, would be easily discovered and destroyed by the Central Shrine. A day later, in front of the teleportation portal to the Tailuan Continent, a luxurious airship arrived. On the airship was written Raging Flame, indicating that it was the exclusive ship of the Raging Flame bandit group. Leader Raging Flame, who was still training on the Heaven Stairway, was grabbed by Yu Yang to present the invitation to the soldiers guarding the teleportation portal with the identity of the bandit group leader. In reality, This thing was only snatched from a leader halfway. There was no name on it, only the unique symbol of the central shrine. Leader Raging Flame used it to disguise herself as the bandit group leader, without any flaws. Yu Yang stood behind Raging Flame, acting as her attendant. He pretended to be heaven-ranked level 3, barely qualified to attend the ceremony. Didn't the Raging Flame bandit group disband? A guard muttered, a little puzzled. Forget it, as long as the group leader is not dead. It could be rebuilt as you wish. The leader snorted in boredom. In a heaven realm, there were as many bandit groups as there were hairs on a cow. Usually, only the group leader had the strength. If the group leader did not die, and his subordinates all died, it would not matter at all. They could just recruit more people. Not only did Raging Flame not die, but she also seemed to have had a fortuitous encounter. Her strength had improved greatly, and rebuilding the Raging Flame bandit group was just a matter of a word. The warden has ordered that no one is allowed to carry weapons in front of the God's Abomination execution platform. Leader, please pay attention. The guard who was inspecting quickly reminded Raging Flame, and at the same time, he skillfully took the money pouch from Yu Yang as a bribe. After proving his identity, Raging Flame and Yu Yang left on the airship. He opened the strangely heavy money pouch in his hand and found that other than gold coins, there was also a gem on it. He could not help but excitedly rush towards the leader and cheered repeatedly. I say, leader, this Raging Flame bandit group must have made a fortune recently. Do you know how much that lad tipped us? A whole 1,000 gold, and even a cat's eye stone that is worth 3,000 gold. Then what are you waiting for? You don't need to be on duty anymore. Immediately go find my cousin and ask him to arrange a good place for the Raging Flame group. We can't miss the opportunity to make friends with such a generous expert. When the leader heard this, he immediately became spirited. Chapter 825. King Tyloin had decided that he would be beheaded on the platform of God's loathing at noon 10 days later, when the sun was high in the sky. Yu Yang learned of this news while he was still on his way. In the central shrine, the execution of major criminals was usually done at noon. There was a rumor in the heaven realm that the souls of those executed at noon could be cleansed of their sins more thoroughly under the fierce sunlight. It was the best way to atone for their sins. On the contrary, Tong Tian Tower had a completely different explanation for this rumor. The predecessors of Tong Tian Tower believed that killing at noon was a very vicious punishment, because the fierce sunlight would double the damage to the fragile soul that had just left the body. When the soul of an ordinary person encountered sunlight, it would easily dissipate and be annihilated. Even if it was a strong person, once they were killed, their soul that had just left the body would be severely injured by the fierce sunlight. The predecessors of Tong Tian Tower believed that killing at noon was a vicious punishment. It should not be used easily unless it was a person who had committed a heinous crime. The Raging Flame Bandits' airship finally saw its target after 30 minutes of sailing. They arrived at the City of Salvation. The City of Salvation was located under the Soul Summoning Ridge. On the ridge was the platform of God's loathing, where King Tyloin was executed. In addition to the Raging Flame Bandit, there were at least a dozen different airships or shuttles parked outside the city, waiting to be dispatched. Why don't we go down and take a walk too? City Lord Fallen Flowers was a little bored and stretched seductively. These days, if I'm not staying in the city, I'm bored in the airship. It's too monotonous. Maybe this City of Salvation will also have exotic flowers and plants from the heaven realm. Let's go down and take a look. Yes, my city lord. Since Yu Yang had asked her to pull him along, there was no way he could refuse. Besides, staying in the airship every day was really a little stuffy. What if the clown group finds out? Raging Flame was most worried about this problem. He won't do anything, at least not here. Yu Yang was no longer so worried about the clown. Unless the clown supporter was the central shrine, the clown's strength would not be able to cause any trouble. The scary thing about the clown was that he knew all kinds of secrets of Tong Tian Tower and was extremely cunning. If he were to contact some powerful person in Tong Tian Tower, it would be a little troublesome. Hey, didn't you say that it's okay to kill people as you please? Anyway, this is the heaven realm, Everything depends on strength. We don't need to be afraid of the clown now. The Lionheart King is more like it. City Master Fallen Flowers' strength had increased greatly, and she was eager to challenge the Heaven Realm rankers to see just how much stronger she had become. Then let's go. Raging Flames no longer insisted. Since Yang was here, she would listen to Yang. Even if Yang was not here, she would listen to Fallen Flowers. She used to think that she was smart and could make her own decisions. After spending time with Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai, and the others, she realized that it was better for her not to make a decision. After strolling for a few hours, City Master Fallen Flowers harvested a few pots of strange flowers from the Heaven Realm. She was so happy that she walked happily. The pitiful Yu Yang and Raging Flames, who had been reduced to hard labor, each held 2 pots of flowers and followed behind her. Only now did Yu Yang realize why young Master always had an errand boy following him. It turned out that not having an errand boy was really a loss. Fortunately, a message was sent to the Mercenary Guild, and Smoke Flea, who had arrived early in the City of Salvation, rushed over. When he saw Yang holding the flowers, he quickly stepped forward and replaced him. "Let me do it! Let me do it!" Yang asked about Bai Lu's news. When he heard that Smoke Flea hadn't found her yet, he quickly sent him to look for someone. The messy news that he had collected was temporarily suppressed. Things had to be prioritized. Smoke Flea handed the flower pot back and rushed to the Mercenary Guild. He guessed that Bai Lu would send someone to wait there. Yu Yang and City Master Fallen Flower strolled for another half an hour. They couldn't help but feel curious when they saw the commotion in front of them. Leaping into the air, they looked down at the crowd in front of them. In front, the Black Skeleton Guild leader Rachel was also among them. He was the only acquaintance that Yu Yang recognized. However, the one who had a conflict was not him, but the Skeleton Man's friend. That vampire-like guy also had pretty good strength, Heaven Stage Level 3. He wore a blood-red robe with a special emblem embroidered on it. He seemed to be from a big family or a big sect. The one who met the vampire's eyes was a minotaur. His strength was similar to that of a vampire. His upper body was bare, and his muscles were bulging. His chest and back were tattooed with terrifying tattoos. His nose, ears, and lips were nailed with golden rings and bone nails of different sizes. His appearance was truly ferocious and frightening. If such an ugly face was placed in the soaring dragon continent, no matter how strong a beauty was, she probably wouldn't be interested in it. This was because this minotaur was too ugly, so ugly that it could make a child stop crying. Even Yu Yang, who was used to seeing the world, was shocked when he saw it. He sighed inwardly. To have the courage to live with such an appearance, his mental quality was really too strong. What made it hard for Yu Yang to understand the most was that beside the Minotaur, there was a delicate and coquettish beauty. He didn't know if she was from the snake race or some other race. Her skin had a few scales and was especially smooth. When she opened and closed her red lips, her snake tongue flickered, giving off a cold and strange feeling. Other than using her slender arms to hold onto the Minotaur's thick arms, this coquettish lamia's long tail also curled around the Minotaur's thigh in a seductive manner. Yu Yang noticed something. The tip of this coquettish lamia's tail was shaped like a bee's tail. "Hurry up and apologize to my girl, or I'll split you apart." The Minotaur and vampire scolded each other with the catchphrase, Lima. It seems that this guy is the Southern Heaven Realm's wandering bandit, Lima. I've heard of this name before. He's a ruthless guy, but I didn't know he was a Minotaur. Raging Flame explained to Yu Yang. In addition to the chivalrous bandit group, there were also many wandering bandits. They didn't want to manage a large group of people. They did things alone and usually ambushed small groups of peddlers for profit. They were generally called wandering bandits. Of course, most wandering bandits called themselves rangers. Only a few extremely vicious fellows would call themselves wandering bandits. For example, this Minotaur Lima. Haha, I was wondering who it was. So it's Lima, you brainless bug. Vampire laughed out loud. I'm not called Lima. I'm the famous wandering bandit Heitung. Lima was just a nickname given to the Minotaur by the outside world. Because there were many people who called him that, no one knew his real name. Let's fight. The wager is your girl. Vampire stretched out a pale hand and sniffed it. When I touched it just now, I found that it felt good. There's also a smell of urine. It seems that your skills in bed must be very good. Lima, I want your girl. If you don't want me to beat you up, get out of here immediately. If you don't have the strength, don't even think about owning such a good beauty. You're courting death. I'll cut you down immediately. The Minotaur was furious. He waved his hand like an axe, raising a strong shock wave and slashing towards Vampire. Child's play. The Vampire easily dodged the attack and sneered. Yu Yang was bored watching. A battle of equal strength like this would probably take several days and nights to determine the outcome. The Minotaur was slightly stronger, and the Vampire was faster. It was hard to determine who was better, especially in this Salvation City. He didn't dare to use destructive moves. It was even more impossible to determine the outcome in a short fight. City Lord Fallen Flowers also felt that there was nothing to see, so it was better to continue searching for exotic flowers and herbs in the heavenly realm. Raging Flames liked to watch the decisive battle, but Yu Yang wanted to leave, so she immediately followed. After strolling for half an hour in the flower market on the neighboring street, Yu Yang and Raging Flames had a few more pots of spoils of war. Even City Lord Fallen Flowers saw that the two of them were working hard, so she helped carry a pot. The three of them walked back happily. Suddenly, there was a rumble. A shadow flew over from afar like a meteor. It fell heavily in front of Yu Yang and Fallen Flowers. It was the Minotaur. In the sky, Rachel and the seductive Lamia were already fighting. The Vampire was blind in one eye. He angrily descended from the sky and pointed at the Minotaur. You dare to plot against my eyes? Lima, you've successfully angered me. Today will be the day you die. You can't even protect yourself, yet you're still spouting such arrogant words? The Minotaur stood up, spat out a mouthful of blood, and sneered. What? The Vampire was stunned. Do you know who you hit when you lost control of your heavy blow and a shockwave? The beloved concubine of the City Lord of Salvation. She was standing upstairs, watching our battle. Do you know why I had to take 10 punches and 5 kicks from you, and why I had to blind you? It's not that I don't know you have a way to recover. I've heard of your name as the blood-sucking demon. The reason why I did that was because when you get angry and lose control of your attack, you will accidentally injure someone you shouldn't have. Do you know why I'm standing in that direction? I'm just trying to trick you into making a move. Among so many onlookers, only the beloved concubine of the City Lord of Salvation is not at Heaven's stage. Only she will let you accidentally injure her. Haha, you will be wanted by the City Lord right now. Do you still want to fight me? Besides, my strength is not inferior to yours at all. If I didn't deliberately lure you into a trap, how could I have been sent flying 1,000 meters away by a heavy blow from you? The Minotaur's words caused the surrounding people to break out in cold sweat. Whoever said that this Minotaur had no brain would be an idiot. On the surface, it seemed that the Vampire was full of evil tricks, but who knew that the real cunning one was the Minotaur, who looked like a composite of brain residues. When Rachel and the Vampire heard this, they immediately fled. Injuring the City Lord's beloved concubine could be a big or small matter. Rachel and the Vampire flew away with a whoosh. They decided to flee as far as they could before the incident. They didn't dare to stay for a second longer. Rachel and the Vampires were scared off with just a few words. Raging Flame was speechless. No wonder the Minotaur, a lone bandit, was able to thrive in the Southern Heaven realm. It turned out that everyone who saw him was deceived by his appearance. The Minotaur looked like a fool, and he was the brainless kind. Who knew that his mind was more cunning than anyone else? Yu Yang, Fallen Flowers, and Raging Flame prepared to leave when they saw that there was no more fighting. Unexpectedly, the Minotaur stretched out his hand and shouted, Captain Raging Flame, if I remember correctly, you are the one at Captain Raging Flame, right? I didn't see you clearly in the quarrel just now, and you left in a hurry. I almost thought that I would never see you again. Fortunately, you still have the leisure to go shopping. Otherwise, I wouldn't have discovered that you are still here. Although it hurts a bit to take that guy's punch for nothing, to be able to take the opportunity to catch up with Captain Raging Flame, this deal is not too bad. Raging Flame was infuriated. You want to keep me here? The Minotaur shook his head and waved his hand. His eyes were filled with cunning. Of course not. Long before I came, I had my companions report it to the city lord. If he kills a beloved concubine, the city lord may not care, because he has more than 100 beautiful concubines. However, if he can catch you, who has been declared a wanted criminal by the central shrine, and present a gift to Lord Heavenly Ghost and Warden Tantai before the execution, it would be a great merit. I think the city lord will definitely be moved. Yu Yang couldn't help but give the Minotaur a thumbs up, praising him. Not bad. Among the Minotaur, you are the smartest I have ever seen, and the most despicable. Chapter 826. The Minotaur was stunned by Yu Yang's words. Then he reacted, You said that I'm the smartest? I agree. But how do you explain that I'm the cheapest? Yu Yang spread out his hands. If you weren't cheap enough, you wouldn't have come to me to beat you up. Isn't that the cheapest? Before he finished speaking, he flashed over and slapped the Minotaur in the face as fast as lightning. Just as the Minotaur was about to get angry and fight back, Yu Yang had already slid back with mysterious footsteps. When the Minotaur put down his fist and was about to curse, Yu Yang appeared in front of the Minotaur and gave him another slap on the other cheek. He did it with ease, as if he was born to kill people. Pa 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 pa. The Minotaur couldn't speak at all. As soon as he opened his mouth, he would be slapped back by Yu Yang. If he wanted to make a move, Yu Yang would fly back to Raging Flame's side. The Minotaur wasn't a fool. He understood that it was impossible to fight Raging Flames alone with his strength, not to mention that there was a super fast kid on the side. 1 against 2, he would definitely die without leaving any dregs. There was really no way to speak. The Minotaur suddenly gave Yu Yang a thumbs up. What was the meaning of this? Yu Yang was puzzled. Could it be that this guy was a masochist and felt pleasure from slapping people in the face? When Yu Yang thought of this, goosebumps appeared all over his body, and he felt a chill. Your speed is very good, much faster than that vampire just now, and the strength of the slap is also very strong. Very good. The Oxhead man praised Yu Yang sincerely, as if he was not the one who was beaten, but a commentator who was watching from the side. After the Minotaur finished speaking, he bowed deeply to the side of the sky. Lord City Lord and Lord Fisheye, in order to delay the criminal's escape, this old face of mine has been slapped hard. Lord City Master and Lord Fisheye, please say something for me. You deserve it. A middle-aged man dressed in a luxurious brocade robe descended from the sky and said in a thunderous rage, Lima, you evil Tauren, you deliberately used my beloved concubine as bait and disregard her life. Even I, the Tauren, can't help but want to beat you up, let alone outsiders. He looked like he was going to tear the Minotaur apart. Fortunately, there was still a personal guard captain and a butler. The two of them stopped the city lord. Moreover, with Captain Raging Flames, a wanted criminal, around, the city lord couldn't immediately make a move on the Tauren, lest Raging Flames take the opportunity to escape. The Minotaur smiled slyly. Actually, the city lord doesn't lack women. It doesn't matter if there's one more or one less. Besides, even if it's top-grade food, you'll get tired of it after eating too much. It's not bad to change your taste sometimes. If you don't favor one of them, everyone will share the rain and dew, and there will be no resentment in your heart. I'm sure the city lord's family will live in harmony. This kind of killing many birds with one stone is actually the city lord's good fortune, so why be angry? That seems to make sense. That city lord had an impatient temper. He came quickly and left even more quickly. He was no longer angry and no longer looked like he wanted to devour someone. Yu Yang looked on coldly from the side and did not express any opinion. City Lord of Fallen Flowers ordered a few Heaven Stage onlookers to help move the flowers into a shop, so as to prevent the fight from destroying her precious collection. Those few Heaven Stage experts were actually considered figures in the Southern Heaven realm, but seeing that Fallen Flowers had a noble and dignified temperament, she didn't hold back when commanding others to do work. As if everyone was her subordinate, they guessed that she was a noble superior from the upper realm. In addition, Yu Yang and Raging Flames had helped her move the flowers, looking like hard workers. They followed behind her, making it even more difficult for people to disobey. You guys are all idiots. You can't even move the potted flowers properly, yet you call yourself Heaven's Stage. Put it down slowly. If you want to damage my flowers, I'll cut off your hands. Don't you know how to be gentle? Not only did Luo Hua City Mistress order those unlucky fellows to do hard labor, she even scolded them harshly, causing those fellows to be filled with fear and trepidation, afraid that they would offend this heaven's proud daughter. Not to mention the few of them, even the onlookers, including the City Lord of Redemption City, who was at the peak of Heaven Stage Level 5, didn't dare to look down on fallen flowers. Beside the City Lord of Redemption City, there was a skinny man with a pale and emotionless face who looked like a machine. In his hand, he held a black scale with strange energy. When Fallen Flowers ordered people to move the flower pots away, Raging Flames and Yu Yang confronted the City Lord of Redemption City, the Oxhead Man, and the others. The robot-like guy raised the black scale and aimed it at the Oxhead Man. Then, he put down a silver feather on the left scale and asked, "Oxhead Man Lima, do you admit to the crime of fraud?" "I plead guilty." The Oxhead Man replied respectfully, "Under the hands of the heavenly ghost executioner." There were two executioner elders, Yumu and Nanshan. One was in charge of chasing, the other was in charge of interrogating. Among them, the Yumu elder was the one in charge of chasing. In front of the black scale, it was useless for anyone to deny their crime, because according to the warden's law, in the heaven realm, other than the gods, all living beings were guilty. The only difference was the degree of their crime. Moreover, once they denied it, the person being interrogated would be severely punished. The person being interrogated could only hope that his crime was very light. If that was the case, then the black scale that represented fairness would make the side of Silver Feather, which contained kindness, fall, proving that there was more kindness than evil, and that they could be forgiven and redeemed. The Oxhead Man answered honestly, admitting that he had tricked the vampire to accidentally injure the City Lord's beloved concubine. A wave of energy emerged from his body. It floated to the right side of the black scale. The light flickered, and the black scale shook slightly. Finally, the side on the left that represented kindness, Silver Feather, fell, while the side on the right that represented sin rose. The Yumu elder nodded expressionlessly. "Oxhead Man Lima, your crime can be forgiven. Your nature is also kind." The Oxhead Man was overjoyed and bowed repeatedly. Yu Yang was dumbfounded. This guy was even more evil than Judge Wong, who used common sense to speculate about Peng Yu's case. How could this work? The emotionless, robot-like Yumu elder pointed the black scale at the City Lord of Fallen Flowers. "You are with a wanted criminal. Do you admit that you are guilty of ganging up?" The City Lord of Fallen Flowers' beautiful eyes turned cold. "So what if I am guilty?" Before she could finish speaking, another wave of energy floated up and landed on the black scale. The side of Silver Feather, which represented kindness, fell rapidly, while the right side, which represented sin, rose high. Seeing this scene, the onlookers and the City Lord of Salvation all heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she was fine. If she had been caught by the Yumu elder, there would probably have been a big mess. The Yumu elder still had a deadpan expression and said emotionlessly, "Although you are guilty of ganging up, you are extremely kind in nature. You were just tricked by a wanted criminal and lost your mind for a moment. You, who have committed a very light crime, can be forgiven." The onlookers applauded enthusiastically. Putting aside the sin, a beauty like this shouldn't be arrested. Then, the Yumu elder asked Captain Raging Flames, "As a wanted criminal of the temple, you have committed a heinous crime. Do you realize it now and plead guilty?" "Bah!" This was Raging Flames' answer. Energy floated up, and the right side of the scale, which represented sin, fell rapidly, while the left side of Silver Feather, which represented kindness, floated high in the air. It was confirmed that Raging Flames was guilty. She should be arrested. The Yumu elder didn't say anything, but everyone knew the result. Yu Yang suddenly raised his hand. I also want to take part in this good and evil test. If Yu Yang hadn't raised his hand, everyone would have almost forgotten about him. Great. He delivered himself to the door. As an accomplice of a wanted criminal, do you know your crime for helping a villain do evil? The Yu Mu elder asked. I don't know. Yu Yang shook his head. Your sins are grave. You are lost and don't know how to turn back. After the Yu Mu elder finished speaking, the right side of the black scale in his hand, which represented evil, sank, while the silver feather, which represented kindness, rose high. This proved that Yu Yang was guilty, even more serious than raging flames. The onlookers were all eager to try when they saw this situation. Everyone knew the name of Captain Raging Flames, and she was definitely a hard bone to chew. However, this kid's strength wasn't too high, only at the 3rd level of Heaven stage. If everyone joined forces and attacked together, they believed that they could capture him in one fell swoop. When the time came, they would offer him to Lord Yu Mu. The reward was secondary. The most important thing was to establish a relationship with the people of the central shrine, just like the ox head. Raging Flames clenched her fists and made her attitude clear. Whoever dares to come up, I'll beat them up. She would definitely resist to the end. The onlookers thought that with Captain Raging Flame's strength at the peak of the 5th level of Heaven stage and the ancient dragon power, other than the Redemption City Lord and the Yu Mu Elder, everyone else would have to stand aside. Therefore, it was better to take it easy in this battle and not provoke her easily. Of course, no one here knew that when Raging Flames went to Tong Tian Tower to cultivate, she had already learned to hide her aura and suppress her realm. Otherwise, she would have fled in fright. With her arduous cultivation in the gate of life and death and the heaven stairway, she had already broken through the 5th level of Heaven stage and advanced to the 6th level of Heaven stage, entering the state of the quasi-innate sovereign. Later on, she broke through in one fell swoop in Yu Yang's energy field and completely comprehended the sovereign realm. Although she had just advanced to the innate sovereign, the current her was not someone that a few Heaven stage experts could contend against. If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't want to ruin the plan of this trip, with Raging Flame's unyielding personality, how could she allow a lowly fellow like the Oxhead to strut around in front of her? Your scale is not bad. Lend it to me to play with. Yu Yang's figure turned into a stream of light and flashed. Before he could finish his sentence, the black scale was already in his hands. Everyone was shocked. Even Yu Mu's eyes were wide open. He didn't feel anything at all. He didn't understand why the treasure would fall into the other party's hands. This treasure was clearly controlled by his own will. How is this possible? Yu Yang deliberately imitated the expression and tone of the Yu Mu elder, raising the black tray scale in his hand. Yu Mu, you claim to be the embodiment of justice, but your intelligence is seriously lacking. You have drunk too much Sanlu since you were young, causing your brain stem to be damaged. Not only is your brain damaged, but you also have facial paralysis, which seriously affects the appearance of the city. Do you know your crime? The mouths of the onlookers at the side were so wide open that a hippopotamus could be stuffed in. I've seen arrogance, but I've never seen such arrogance. I've seen arrogance, but I've never seen such arrogance. This brat, this was courting death. Regardless of whether he was guilty or not, Elder Yu Mu would not let him off. Fallen Flowers couldn't help but laugh out loud when she saw Yu Yang's mischief. She laughed so hard that her shoulders shook. She laughed as if there was no one else around, without any scruples, and was exceptionally heroic. Unlike ordinary women, her unique hearty laughter didn't affect her appearance and noble temperament at all. Instead, it made people feel that she was full of aura, a true superior. The entire audience was speechless. Only Fallen Flowers' bell-like laughter echoed on the street for a long time. Raging Flames originally wanted to make herself a little more fierce, but she really couldn't do it. Her lips pursed into an arc. If it weren't for the fact that a great battle was imminent and she needed to endure it with all her might, she would probably be laughing like Fallen Flowers. You're courting death. Elder Yu Ye's expression trembled slightly, but there wasn't any emotion on his face. He was still as rigid as a rock, and his eyes were emotionless like a robot's. He only stared at Yu Yang. Wrong answer. Yu Yang didn't absorb energy to judge crimes like Yumu. Instead, he directly used his finger to forcefully press down the right side of the black scale, making the side of silver feather, which represented kindness, rise high. Yu Yang pressed down on the right side of the rooftop, indicating for everyone to look and stop laughing. He imitated Yumu's tone and said, "The treasure has already made the best explanation. Not only are you brainless and have facial paralysis, you have also committed an extremely serious crime. You deserve to die 1,000 times, and your crimes are unforgivable. I, who am very kind and full of justice, have made a difficult decision. In addition to confiscating your tools, I will also help you wash away your sins and send you on your way. In short, the sooner you die, the sooner you reincarnate." Just as Yu Yang finished speaking, the index and middle fingers of Yumu's right hand had already pierced his eyelashes. Yumu's attack speed was extremely fast. None of the onlookers could react. Even Raging Flames, who had the strength of Heaven Stage Level 6 and had comprehended the Sovereign Realm, could only turn her head and see a phantom. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.